They had some sort of like branding name for it. Last night I called it Butt Blasters. That's probably not it. That's probably not right.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins. We don't have Jeremy with us today.
Oh.
Jeremy came up sick. He pulled a hammy in his digestive system.
You got to stretch first, you know?
You do. But with me as always is Barrett Scher from Music Video Sins.
Hello, everyone.
And joining us, he was joining us anyway.
Yeah.
But his third or fourth appearance on the show.
Something like that.
Somewhere around there. We're not counting anymore. He's been on here so many times.
That's right.
Is Aaron Dicer.
Oh, hi there.
Hey, welcome.
That's right.
Thank you. I feel very welcome.
He's from, say it.
Sif Pop Podcast.
Well, I wanted you to say Sif Pop.
Oh, Sif Pop.
There we go.
Nice.
He's from Sif
Yeah.
Pop and your movie friend on YouTube.
Yeah.
And a lot of you like Aaron more than you like us, so...
That is nice.
He has his own
So
podcast.
it's
Stop
pretty.
it.
Yeah, you can go over there and listen to him if you don't like us.
Yeah.
But no, we're glad to have Aaron here again, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the Oscars right off the bat.
Yeah.
If I fall over, pick me up because I've got some things to say.
Thank you for that smattering of applause.
Run that clock, Jimmy. I want to get that ski jet or whatever that was.
I've been wearing these shoes since 11 o'clock this morning. How long you been wearing your shoes?
Since the Critics' Choice Awards.
Oh.
And there were almost no surprises. In fact, zero surprises.
Yeah, what was a surprise? Can you think of anything that was a surprise?
No. In fact, Aaron conducts an Oscar like picking contest thing, and I had not entered it until like the day of.
Yeah.
You texted me and you're like, hey, could you get this in? And I was like, I might be able to. And I just went with just my first impression on all of them, and I nearly won that thing.
Yeah, I know.
It's like picking all the high seeds in the NCAA
Yeah,
tournament.
pretty
right?
much, yeah.
Did you get like 21 out of 24? Something like that?
Yeah. And I think where I probably stumbled was like short, documentary short or something like that, like,
Yeah, I ended up with 19, but I picked 2 long shots purposefully, and so I knew that once it started going chalk, as they say, I knew I was in trouble.
Right.
But yeah, no, there were no surprises this year at the Oscar. Really, I mean, people are talking maybe about documentary, like Faces Places, maybe should have beat Icarus, but I mean, that's not a surprise. It's just the documentary category. I mean, it can go any way. So.
What about Best Foreign Film? Have you seen A Dangerous Woman?
Yeah, I have.
Is it good?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fantastic woman.
I'm
right?
sorry, fantastic.
Yes.
Dangerous.
I was just going to go with it. I mean, it's no piece of fruit in the cup, but I
of
mean,
course, nothing is.
I mean, it's from the same country. It's
Guys,
from Chile, but
guys, we have to stop comparing every movie to a piece of fruit in the cup.
I know
because you're just gonna. It's a losing battle. But no, there wasn't really anything. Now, I nearly missed this telecast, and it would have been the first time since like 1986 that I've missed an Oscar.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen it every year since then. It's kind of Super Bowl. It's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't missed a Super Bowl since Super Bowl 19.
Yeah.
So, but the Oscars, like, I came in after Allison Janney had won, and after who else? Oh, Sam Rockwell had won.
He was the first winner, or the first category,
Yeah.
and the whole prologue was about women forward and Me Too and Time's Up, and then it was like, here's all our dudes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, all right.
So I came in after that. So I was watching it at an Oscar party, and I was like sitting there going, yeah, this is the same type of thing that happened as last year, where I made a mention that when something doesn't win screenplay, it doesn't usually win Best Picture. And in this year, you had Call Me By Your Name, and you had Get Out win screenplays, and Shape of Water was left out. But I think I made that same observation last year when Moonlight didn't win. I don't think Moonlight won, did it? Did Moonlight win
for screenplay? I don't remember, honestly.
I don't
I'd have
remember
to
either.
look.
But yeah, it usually doesn't go that way. You don't get a screenplay nominated and like suddenly win Best Picture. It's like Titanic is when stuff like that doesn't happen.
Manchester by the Sea was original, and then adapted screenplay was Moonlight.
Okay, so maybe I said that, and then when La La Land won,
Yeah.
at the time,
Yeah, I got it.
yeah, like La La Land won, and then they had to go back and say no, it didn't. So yeah, even last year, the best screenplay went to Best Picture. So,
Yeah.
So that's rare. That I mean, it's
But
not,
Get Out had to win something.
Yeah,
you figure there
it
was
did.
enough of a fan base.
Well,
that-
and it's the reason why I picked it to win and Shape of Water. Is even though that there's that sort of, I had that sort of like locked in my brain or whatever. I still picked Get Out to win, and then for Shape of Water to win Best Picture and everything. It's just this way it is. All the momentum for these movies are impossible to stop a lot of time.
Yeah, we could feel it when we were at the awards. I think, I even leaned over to you after Shape of Water won. I just said, you just feel the momentum for that movie in the room. You can feel that people want Guillermo del Toro to win this year. Like it's really interesting how that stuff happens. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with how nice of a guy he seems to be and how film positive he is.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a great representation for...
I tell you what, as much as I have been down on a lot of the movies he's come out with, I really appreciate a guy like him.
Yeah.
And like it pains me because I want to love everything he comes
Me
out
too.
with.
Yep.
Because of that very thing.
Yeah.
And every time I see a new movie of his, I'm like, I can see your giddiness. I just wish you would pay a little bit more attention to story and stuff like that. And then he does in Shape of Water, but
Yeah, I think that's definitely my favorite movie he's ever done.
Oh, yeah?
By far. I like Pan's Labyrinth perfectly fine. In fact, I think it's really, really good. But I think this Shape of Water has its flaws for me, but I think it's miles better than Pan's Labyrinth too.
Interesting.
It was an interesting, too. I was thinking about the director's category and that he won. And if any of the other four had won, I would have been over the moon. Like, just any of those five. And it's so weird to be like, oh, man, Guillermo del Toro won. Because, I'm glad he won. You know, he's been doing good stuff.
Yeah.
So that was quite a...
Well, it was Jordan Peele, Greta Gerwig.
Nolan.
Oh, yeah, Christopher Nolan.
Yep.
Yep.
And then who was the fifth? Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got PTA, you've got Nolan, you've got Greta Gerwig, Jordan Peele, all of those. I'm like, yes, that would be so fun to see.
Yeah.
And a couple of those guys, like Nolan and PTA, they're on that track of
Right.
they're going to get that. They may get the Oscar for something they don't quite deserve it for.
Get a Scorsese.
Yeah. They're on that because Nolan is like every year he's nominated for whatever he does.
But this isn't new. I mean, Hitchcock never won an Oscar.
That's
so,
true.
It's hard to get.
It took a while, though, for Hitchcock, I think, to be really recognized, though, as the director, as this great director. Whereas I feel like Nolan and PTA are already considered legends in some
I think
way.
PTA is in that. I think Nolan actually fits the Hitchcock idea well in that he is almost kind of genre-ish. He has his own thing that he does, the way he plays with time. His movies are usually big blockbuster movies. So actually, Nolan feels a lot like Hitchcock in that way. That it may be relegated films that he's making, but I think he'll get one
Now,
eventually.
don't get me wrong. I don't think he should have won for Dunkirk. He probably should have won for Inception because the year Inception was nominated, that's when The King's Speech.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like you look at Inception and you look at King's Speech. Look at Inception. It's like
I'm at the optometrist.
Yeah, it's the Beavis and Butthead Do America Butthead thing where he's like, I just figured something out. This sucks. I think probably the best moment that I saw was Frances McDormand getting everybody to stand. Cool. That was really cool. It was fun. It was also fun that she was like, Meryl, if you do it, everybody else will do it.
Well, she sure seems like everybody's aunt, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
Just no filter, just out there and says whatever the fuck she wants. Luckily, she's saying things that are helpful and progressive in society.
You know what was so genius about her speech was ending it with inclusion writer, because it's something that a lot of people aren't going to know what that means. They're going to have to Google, and it's something that's practical. Like you see a lot of these speeches where they talk about stuff and they basically just throw their weight behind supporting an issue or those kind of things. And she's basically saying, look, here's a practical thing that I'm encouraging you to do. and throws out the phrase inclusion writer, and everybody's Googling what does that mean. And 2 days later, Michael B. Jordan is saying he's going to include an inclusion writer on all his movies. And so I found that genius. Like I thought that was really smart for her to actually have like practical application at the end of her speech.
The other thing that stood out, I think, from what I was seeing on social media, was the montages.
I loved the montages.
Me too, man.
That 90-year montage was so well put together.
Yeah.
Like whoever edited that and put that to hire them to do all of the montages ever, because it was just so nicely done.
I can watch that stuff for like 15, 20 minutes straight.
Yeah.
Just keep those images and those sound bites coming, because you're just reliving all that stuff.
It's mainlining nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. It's just like, you put it in me. It's amazing.
Indeed. But yeah, so overall, this wasn't it wasn't a great Oscars by any means. Everybody who you thought was going to win won. There were a couple of moments, I guess, but I guess also with the whole jet ski thing, we actually did have people were getting through speeches faster.
I thought that was fun. Like
Sure.
I thought I keep doing that. That was kind of cool.
I didn't ever read who ended up winning it.
What was the guy? It was the
Costume designer.
Was it?
Yeah.
Guy
I
for
can't
Phantom
remember.
Thread?
Yeah, I think so.
I know he came out on it.
Yeah.
At the end or whatever. But yeah, no, I'm a Kimmel apologist. I think he does a good job with these Oscars.
Oh, I think so too.
I think it takes a really particular, person. A lot of people will be like, this comedian for host next year because they have a good, spot before their thing. And I'm like, you can stand up and be funny introducing a category, but hosting a show there's some different skill sets there that not everybody has. And you don't really know till you get up there, but I think Kimmel does it really well.
Well, yeah, it's funny because we considered Chris Rock like one of the best stand-up comedians of all time, but as an Oscar host wasn't quite to the when it becomes your show rather than you being a host.
See, that's exactly it. Yeah. There really there's an unselfishness to it that often is hard to, even if you are an unselfish, if you want to be unselfish, sometimes it's hard to do when you're a performer because it's usually about, look at me, I'm going to make you laugh, those kind of things. And yeah, I think Kimmel does it well.
Yeah,
I do kind of miss the song and dance aspect of the opening, though. Like,
I wouldn't want Kimmel to force that. Like,
no.
Not
I'm not saying that he would do that, but I do miss that aspect. Bring somebody else to do it. Have Matt Damon come out and do something. At the beginning. But like, I still am a little bit nostalgic for the Seth MacFarlane one where he came out and had all that because he's a performer and he's like a musician and can really do those showstoppers. And same thing with Billy Crystal, and that's why he got
Billy Crystal
asked back
great,
so many times. But yeah, if you can either outsource that if you're Kimmel or bring in a host that can do more of that stuff. Another reason that James Franco and fucking Anne Hathaway didn't work.
Yeah.
What is their skill set? They're not hosts.
Right.
They're not musicians. They're not, whatever. It's just two people standing there
and we're just awkward. And we're talking about white guys because white guys have hosted a lot of the Oscars before. But you look around at even some of like the reality TV show hosts. Like I think of the girl that hosts So You Think You Can Dance, Kat Deely. Like somebody like that would be an incredible host. She gets the idea of moving segments and, delivering lines and those kind of things.
It's the first time that show's ever been mentioned.
Yes, that's true.
Well, I mention it because here's why I mention it, because a lot of times people will be like, oh, Tiffany Haddish, she'd be an amazing host. Get her up there. And part of me is like, yeah, that'd be cool. That she's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she has those hosting muscles. She might. We can see, but there are plenty of women, people of color, who do have those hosting muscles, who are doing amazing things. Give them a shot. So
yeah, I agree.
All right, so that's the Oscars, I think, in a nutshell.
A giant meh.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know what the fix is for it really, other than maybe just not have all these other award shows before Oscars.
There's that, and I know that you can watch the Oscars like however long it goes. I'm not really complaining about the length per se, but there were 2 sound awards given out, sound editing and what's the other, sound mixing.
Yeah, mixing and editing.
That had the exact same fucking nominees.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I appreciate the work that these people do.
And the same winner too, right? Same winner?
I think so.
Yeah.
It may have been Dunkirk.
Yeah, I think Dunkirk won both.
It's like, do these really need to be televised? Like, you've got all of this technical stuff that was done the night before or whenever it was. throw that stuff into it, or at least maybe just one of the sound categories.
Those guys must have a hell of a union, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's the only reason I can think of that those continue to be on the Oscars.
Nobody cares.
Spend all that time on it and everything.
Yeah. I mean, even people in the industry that aren't sound experts probably don't care about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that if you could move those, and I'm not saying like delete the category or anything like that, just move it to where they've got more space to do in their own little area. I think you're going to get a better product that people want to watch. I think having these like in the first quarter of the show too, where you're trying to gather some momentum, I think it just
hell,
screeches
you could
to a
even,
halt.
if you wanted to keep them televised, you could just like have the guy over the intercom go, hey, welcome to the 148th Oscars or whatever, and then be like, our winner for sound mixing and sound, like, and then they just come up there and they do it, and then now you're host.
Yeah.
You know?
That wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. They have to improve the product, the televised product. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I agree. What'd you think of just a quick yes or no on the going across to the movie theater and interrupting Wrinkle in Time with the celebrities?
I thought that was fine.
I hate it.
Really?
You didn't like it?
I hate it. First off, okay. The people there to watch Wrinkle in Time don't care about the Oscars, right? Because they are watching a movie during the Oscars. So
yeah, but if Gal Gadot comes into my movie theater and hands me a bag of gummy bears, that's a life experience. You know what I mean? Like,
sure, but it's a waste of time, I think, overall.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an excuse to get. It's a derivative of that selfie with all the famous people that Ellen DeGeneres did.
But even that I'm fine with. As long if you want to do something, stay in the theater and all that, that's fine. This walking over to another theater and like. We were just making jokes that the people watching Wrinkle in Time were like, oh, what is this shit? I want to see this movie, you know? And
did that happen when you guys saw Wrinkle in Time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Army Hammer had a hot dog gun and everything. It was amazing.
Oh my God.
I think they're doing that for every showing.
Yeah. I mean, I nearly died being within 100 feet of Gal Gadot. Just imagine what it'd be like getting gummy bears from Gal Gadot.
That's right.
You'd have to excuse yourself.
We're just a little bit, just a little, just ramping up there. All right, well, now that we've talked about the Oscars, you want to go on a road trip?
Yeah, baby.
On the road again.
The most time-honored tradition of all, the road trip.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
So, of course, California last week. Good God, did we miss so many?
Yeah, man. Oh, my God.
I was telling you last night they were playing Vertigo up on the screen, and I was like, that was the one that just kept coming to my mind for San Francisco.
Oh, my God.
And I just,
Vertigo?
So much.
And I just looked down at the floor. And, yeah, I know. We missed it. We missed L.A. Story. We missed Falling Down.
I would love to talk about L.A. Story.
Yeah, I know. I mean, L.A. I mean, those were perfect L.A. movies, and we forgot about them, mainly because it was so many other ones that we had to go through.
Oh, yeah, it's impossible.
But, I think we had, like, I don't know, on Facebook, there was about 4 or 5 other people who came on and said, you missed this, and that. And finally, somebody mentioned L.A. Story again. I was like, yeah, we bit off more than we could chew on California, man. I don't know what to say.
It could have been a 2-parter or a 3-parter.
Yeah. But we're beyond California now.
That's right.
We're going to Colorado.
Yeah.
We're going a little bit east.
That's right.
Something like that. But west from
Wagons east.
That's right. We're going east from California, but west from where we're actually talking. So Colorado, much like the state that we talked about earlier, Arizona, has a lot of desert movies and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that type of stuff. But what immediately comes to mind when you see Colorado and the movies that are shot?
The Shining.
Yeah.
Because when I think about Colorado, now I think about weed, just because.
Right.
Whatever. But you think about the mountains and you think about that initial shot that Kubrick is going over the water and then follows up to the Torrance's car and everything.
Yeah.
And then you see that's how Colorado becomes a character. Obviously, the Overlook Hotel is a big character in this too. Mm-hmm. But I mean, immediately, right off the bat, you see this lush landscape, this gorgeous, sensual imagery as they're going up to it. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's the immediate thing that popped into my head when I saw Colorado.
Yeah, it's usually the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's part of the incredible beauty of that area is the mountains, and brings us to another classic like The Shining, which is Cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Cliffhanger.
Man, I watched that movie so much in college.
It was a phenomenon.
It's just kind of one of those movies that I don't know if it's Stallone's performance or what it is, or if it's just the crazy, intensity that they're all playing these characters with. I don't know. There's something about that movie that's really engaging to me. So.
Well, I mean, right off the jump, it kills somebody.
Yeah, yeah. And that seems pretty intense.
It does, because you think, oh, there's no way that she's dead.
Yeah. And you see her go down.
My brothers and I used to always quote John Lithgow just because he had that one line in there where he's like, "Give me the fucking code." And so anytime we had anything with a code or whatever, we'd be like, "Give me the fucking code."
Oh my God.
But
he's hilarious.
He's insane in that movie, man.
Yeah, he really is.
So good.
And summer blockbusters obviously all over the place. Independence Day was partly shot there as well.
At the base there.
Yeah, at the base. I'm sure I guess the whole drive through the desert and everything and all that's Colorado. I mean, it could be any number of states, but I think that's what it is, though.
Isn't it supposed to be Roswell though, or Area 51?
Area 54. Is that the disco version of where we kept the aliens?
Yeah, I don't.
Somehow Mike Myers is involved.
That's right. I actually don't know. I mean, I just know that some of it was shot there.
Yeah.
And I know.
I think it was supposed to be Area 51.
Yeah, yeah.
They shot it there.
Yeah, they had to go because that's the whole. Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Right.
Because Judd Hirsch is like Area 51. That's why you had the alien there and all that. But Independence Day partially shot there. What else, guys?
Battlefield Earth was set there too.
I still haven't seen that movie.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Is that purposeful? You're just I'm never seeing Battlefield
No,
Earth.
I'm sure I will see it, and I'm sure we will send it at some point.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. But no, it came out. I was actually working in movie theaters when it came out. I think it may have been one of those that just slipped in during that one little period of time where I wasn't, but. It came out, and I had heard so many bad things about it that I was like, well, I don't need to watch that. I remember seeing the trailer going, that might be decent. I don't know why, but I thought
it's sci-fi. Sci-fi always has a chance.
Right. And then I just heard how terrible it was, so I never had the urge to watch it. And then, it's one of those that just fell by the wayside.
It's so bad.
Never had the...
It really is, man. This is the year 3000 or something like that. And
I flushed all that after I watched it.
It's an L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah.
L. Ron Hubbard, and of course,
I know you
John
got
Travolta.
dreaded.
Who probably, that was probably his passion project or something to get that made.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll probably find out later that it was all coincidence or some shit.
Well, no, I think the strong Scientology ties led him to really want to do this. But it was a huge flop, and it has a 3% Rotten Tomatoes score aggregate right now, which I think it earns. I mean, every part of this is just the effects look awful. I mean, it wasn't cheap. It was $80 million.
Oh, no, it was
to make
expensive. 3%, huh?
Uh-huh.
Who were those critics? Who were the critics that were like Battlefield Earth is a decent
Armin
movie?
White,
probably. Was he around in 2000?
I'm sure he was. If he wasn't around then, he was it was on his blog or something, and it somehow got on Rotten Tomatoes.
His school newspaper.
That's right. But another big classic, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah.
Came out on that one. Don't remember too much about it, but that's obviously a lot of Colorado that's going on in that movie.
Yeah.
And it's a big feature. They're on mountains and all this other type of stuff in it, but
jumping off cliffs.
Spoiler
alert.
That's right.
My research said The Prestige was shot a lot in Colorado.
So is that where the Tesla headquarters were?
That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing that whole forest area, snowy area, that kind of stuff. So if it is, we have to bring up The Prestige.
No,
the greatest movies
almost
ever.
everything that I looked up where it said this was filmed in Colorado, The Prestige showed up in the list. So it definitely has some pieces of it were shot there and everything. So
I love the way that area looks, by the way.
It's gorgeous.
His whole estate is just awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you have stuff and this is another thing that I've wondered about, is the conflict about what to bring up on these. It was shot there, but it wasn't the movie didn't have the plot based there or whatever. I'm just going to go with them, I guess. It doesn't really matter.
Especially when you're dealing with these kind of states where there's not a ton.
Yeah, and I know that we brought up a couple where people were like, well, that wasn't really shot there or whatever. Well, yeah, but it was set there, and I think that makes that's a thing. But so shot at the Colorado airport, I had no idea. Die Hard 2 was
Oh, really?
shot at the Colorado airport. And
In
it's
Denver?
subbed in for Dulles.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it was Denver or not. It's an airport that I think I read isn't being used anymore.
Ah.
It might be, and they renovated it or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, that airport is in Colorado.
That's
Nice.
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they got the snow.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I guess I got it.
There's some sort of weird history with the Denver airport. There's conspiracy theories about it, about
yeah?
like the way it's connected. I've got to look it up and talk about it the next time, because my cousin is a big conspiracy theorist, and he always goes on and on and on.
Oh,
about
yeah, I think I've heard
the
this.
Denver airport. Yes,
I think I've heard
I won't
this.
say any more because I'll probably be wrong. But
Right.
yeah,
or
it's
hunted
something-
down by the Illuminati. One of the two. Keep your mouth shut, Barrett.
Yep.
There are a lot of classics like The Searchers and Stagecoach that have been shot here. Badlands, Terrence Malick's early movie, was shot in Colorado. Then there's another one that appeared on there a lot, like when I was going through all the research here. Woody Allen's Sleeper was shot in Colorado.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Do you remember it being set, formally set
it was,
somewhere?
I think it was formally set in Colorado. If not, then he just went to Colorado for no reason to shoot that movie because. But I thought that was interesting to see that was on there. I was like, really? He went to Colorado to shoot that? I guess he had a building there that he really wanted or whatever. So
am I weird? You know how much I love Woody Allen movies. I don't like that movie that much.
Oh no, it's an early, real silly.
Yeah.
You know.
No, that doesn't surprise me.
But it's always ranked super high on his movie.
Oh, really?
list. Oh, yeah.
I think that has to do with his career. I think that has to do with where that movie falls in kind of his becoming, known and popular and, early in his career. So I think that's why it's looked at as a touchstone. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
But-
I guess so. I've gone back to it and been like, this is considered a modern classic. I need to check it out again. I can't get into it.
Yeah, it might have been one of those for its day. It was groundbreaking, or it informed us of what Woody Allen movies would eventually become, or whatever. I don't know.
He did some weird shit back
He
then.
did, man.
Everything you wanted to know about sex, but were afraid
Well,
to
that's
ask.
the thing. His comedies before, I think it's before Annie Hall.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if maybe there's something that bridges it in the middle there, but all those are straight comedies and a lot of goofball, screwball type stuff, almost parody type stuff all through that. And then all of a sudden he wants to be a more serious filmmaker when he did Annie Hall, even though it was funny.
Am I right? Was he was a stand-up comedian before he directed movies, right? Yeah. So that's where his, that's where.
Yeah, he was a joke writer too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
Also, Vacation was shot in Colorado, partly at least.
The first one?
Yes, the
Or
first
the original,
Vacation.
I guess I should say.
The original Vacation, and also Christmas Vacation was shot in Colorado.
Really?
At least part of it, if not all of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes place in Chicago,
Yeah,
right?
you would never think. Now, maybe a lot of it is in Chicago, but they had to do some, maybe when they're going to get the tree, that's in Colorado.
Oh, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's where that is, but part of it's shot in Colorado at least.
Interesting.
What else, guys?
Did you see anything that said, because mine said Indiana Jones Last Crusade?
Yeah, I
was
saw
shot
that.
in Colorado a little bit. Never thought of that. Bowling for Columbine, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Columbine being in Colorado. I figured we could mention that. Yeah, that's about In the Line of Fire. You guys remember that movie?
Which part is in Colorado?
I don't know.
There is a scene where John Malkovich kills two guys by a stream or something like that. That might be where it was shot. I don't think. Well, actually, there's also. I think I ran past a thing that said it was shot at a city center. So maybe they shot something, some sort of out in the town type thing there. But I don't know why you would go all the way to Colorado just to do that. So I don't know. But
I love that movie.
I do too.
In the Line of Fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
I think it's super highly rated too. I came across it. 96% Rotten Tomatoes, 7.2 on IMDb. I knew people liked that movie, but it seemed
I
like
didn't know it was critically acclaimed.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty straightforward, action thriller, but I guess it's because Malkovich is so great.
He
in
is
this
so
thing.
good in
That's
that movie.
his star-making performance.
Oh, yeah,
He's been around forever, and then that is what got him to be everybody was like Malkovich, everybody
Malkovich.
But no, In the Line of Fire is a good movie. It was a big hit back in 1993. It was I think it came out in August of that year. And,
July.
July,
Mhm.
and it was pretty big. I mean, it was a pretty decent hit.
177 million.
Yeah.
That's pretty good for a fucking pretty taut thriller.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't realize it was that much of a commercial success and that much critically acclaimed. Because I just remember really enjoying it. But
It pretty much this came after Unforgiven, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Clint Eastwood had this resurgence after that.
Yeah.
After Unforgiven, he's just taken off to the stratosphere, directing and acting.
Yeah, and this is one of the rare ones after Unforgiven where he's just acting, and it's Wolfgang Peterson who directed it. And Wolfgang Peterson himself had sort of resurgence after this too, because then he did Air Force One and The Perfect Storm and all that.
I like his stuff.
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
Yeah, pretty solid. He also did Neverending Story and Das Boot.
Das Boot, yes.
How
about what do you guys think about Always?
I haven't seen it since 1990.
I've seen it maybe 20 times.
Woo!
Have you really?
I love the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It is my wife and I's movie.
Really?
Yeah, it's our came out when we were starting to date, and we used to watch it and watch some of it and then make out during other parts. And so it's our movie. So yeah.
I love this movie. I shouldn't say love it. I really, really like this movie, and I think I got, like you, kind of emotionally attached to it.
That smoke gets in your eye scene is beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Is it Richard Dreyfuss is like a ghost in this movie or something?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like in the 80s, these movies were just all over the place. Culminating with Ghost, and then I guess there was some more in the 90s too.
Oh yeah.
But the 80s, it seemed like this happened all the time.
Ghost Dad.
Somebody's at the very beginning they die, and then they got to go find the person that they were with and everything. But then Spielberg did this. It's
emotionally effective. This is also Audrey Hepburn's final role.
I was going to say, I was going to mention that Audrey Hepburn
She's
was
the
angel figure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's man.
And it's about a compelling subject. These firefighters in the putting out the forest fires. I mean, it's I thought it was great.
Good stuff.
Also about Schmidt was shot a little bit in Colorado. The infamous Kathy Bates nude scene, right?
Yes, indeed.
Was shot there.
Is it sad that that's what that movie is known for? I
guess so. I was kind of thinking about, because it's such a different Jack Nicholson performance, even after As Good as It Gets, that I was turned off by it the first time I saw it. I was like, fine. But then when you go back and watch it, Alexander Payne, this is after election, right?
Yes.
And so he's kind of getting his sea legs in there. And there's such nuance to Nicholson's performance in this, his relationship with his daughter and how, that all reconciles. And then Ndugu, is that
Dear Ndugu.
It's really good.
No, it's a really good movie. It has one of the most emotionally impactful endings I've ever seen.
Yep.
In a movie. It is unfairly grouped in with this, and who cares? Grow up, right?
That's my thing. Is there's this whole sense of ooh, Kathy Bates. It's we all have a body.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not why you got to be a junior higher about it.
Yeah. And it's perfect for that scene,
right?
And everything. It's
exactly. It's purposeful. It's
I mean, it's come on, yeah, exactly. Just grow
up. It is an
already.
Audacious.
It is
way to present nudity. I'm glad Alexander Payne wanted to go there and that she wanted to go there, because you never see nude scenes like this.
And that's sort of his MO in a lot of these movies where he's very purposefully, and I think he said this in Election. He's very purposely he's sought out actors and actresses that aren't the super beautiful and everything. It's I kind of get tired of that. We only, apparently can only fall in love with really beautiful actors and all that and everything. And he always picks, and this may be an insult.
I was going to say, how do those actors and actresses feel about
except
that?
for George Clooney, obviously.
You know what? I think these actors know where they stand.
Oh, they probably get, this is the type that you're going to play. This is we need a motherly figure. We need a grandpa or whatever.
We had that interview with Brian O'Halloran and Jason Mewes where where I was sort of like getting to the point that I was like telling Brian O'Halloran, I was like, you've kept this independent spirit alive and everything. And he's like, well, he goes, well, you know, if you're going to cast a movie, you're probably not going to cast me. You know, and all that. So these actors know that where they stand on all this. I've heard Robert Altman also say this type of thing too. And so Alexander Payne, I think, very consciously tries to get actors who look real, quote unquote,
God
or
bless
whatever.
him.
And that's why in Election, you see a lot of these people, they're not, except for Reese Witherspoon, everybody's sort of like an average looking person or whatever.
Even Chris Klein, they give him that giant knee brace. So he's not just like fucking, you know, Chris Kleining all over the place.
Exactly.
And he like roughs up Jack Nicholson in this movie, even more so. So I mentioned As Good as It Gets because that was his performance, I think, that came before this one.
Yeah.
Where he's still kind of like the debonair dude, even though he's damaged. He's definitely got like a slickness to his character. And then this is just strips all that shit down, where he's old and he's busted and he's emotionally raw and he's peeing all over the bathroom. Like, there's some. It's unlike any performance I've seen him do.
Yeah. And has that great moment where he meets the couple in the trailer and he tries to make out with the wife and everything. And it's like just, and it gets kicked out. Like after they had all this great these great moments, and then he's like has to like fuck everything up and everything. Apparently Beer Fest is in Colorado.
Yeah, that's the counterpart to Germany when they come back over to train and all that stuff. They're in Colorado. Man, what a fun movie.
Man, I love Beer Fest so much.
That's up there with Super Troopers is my favorite Broken Lizard. There's only 3.
I mean, there's more than that.
There's 4 now.
No, there's more than that. There was Club Dread. There was Super Troopers. There was there's one in a restaurant. And then there is
now there's Super Troopers 2.
And Super Troopers 2, but there's a couple others. And then if you want to count Dukes of Hazzard in that, which is essentially a broken lizard. But no, Beer Fest is just one of those. It's so fun. It is stupid as hell, but man, if you just go, I mean, this is one of those where you can literally do the thing that we hate people saying, take your brain out and just watch it.
Yeah, because the visual gags are hilarious. The dialogue in between, the conversations in between the characters are it's so fast that you can watch it multiple times and be like, oh my God, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. All right, what else do you guys want to talk about?
Are we ready for South Park?
Yeah, we are ready for South Park.
Yeah, I was excited about this. That's the second thing that I think of when I think of Colorado, The Shining and South Park, because you know, the series has largely stayed in that community, right? I mean, they've gone out to wherever here and there, but they always come back to that. And so much so that the first song in South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, is about my giant little redneck mountain town, you know?
Yeah.
And it seems like the whole series and the movie is really trying to make that a character.
Yeah, for sure. South Park is near and dear to my heart.
So smart.
It's as close to The Simpsons as far as my favorite all-time TV series as anything gets. They both have this. I mean, obviously some similar qualities, but man, yeah, South Park is very smart. Like
it's incredible what they do. They blow me away, Matt and Trey, how they put together these episodes like the week of, basically. I mean, it's, you know, there's no TV show in production like it, where they are, I mean, other than like, you know, a talk show or something, where they're getting all their content and putting together this animated show. That's why the animation is so basic, because they have to do it like the day before it goes on air. So I'm so impressed by their brains.
Did you see the documentary?
No, I didn't.
Man,
that would be fascinating.
Must watch. Yeah,
it's so much fun.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it shows where I guess it's Trey Parker that's got like a block, basically, right? And like Matt Stone is trying to like get him there, and he's like, I don't really know how to, and he's like legitimately freaking out. I don't know how to really put this, and then it cuts to like a random Bill Hader in the writers' room, just like laughing, which is the greatest thing ever. And then they turn around, they make it work. It's awesome.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, definitely watch that if you haven't seen it, because it's insane. And you can see why there are some episodes where they didn't have everything planned out.
Right.
And they will admit it, like there's an older episode where they, I don't know if you've ever seen the one with the tooth fairy.
Don't think so.
The tooth fairy. So the kids get the idea that they can go to other kids' houses and steal their teeth and get the money for the teeth and everything. They put the tooth under their own pillow. They start doing that, but then they find out that there's an actual like another group of kids doing this that have it all like they're like gangsters who actually have it all planned out and everything. And so like they're basically competing for this. In the meantime, the B story is it's either Stan or Kyle. I think it's Kyle who's reading a book about existence and whether or not we exist and all this other type of stuff. So like there's this big like finale that comes to a head where like, the gangsters and the kids are like, they're trying to get this valuable tooth and everything. And like he suddenly like, hey, maybe I don't exist at all. And he disappears and like suddenly just turns into this weird sci-fi thing. And like even on the commentary, I think they're like, yeah, so we didn't know what to do at this point. We just went ahead and did it this way. And,
it's punk rock television.
Yeah.
It's as close as you get to that. Let's make a thing. And, because everything else gets, commercialized and corporatized and, it's just two dudes doing all the voices, doing all the animation, getting it all together. I know there's just something really organic about it that's, I don't know, I just find it really interesting.
Yeah.
How many seasons had gone by before they did the movie?
So the movie was in 99, so I think 3?
Okay.
97, 98, 99?
It was the sweet spot for sure because whatever... they were still restricted at that time. They couldn't even say shit on the show at this point. And when they took the governor cap off, you were thinking, or I was thinking, I don't really know how this is going to work. Are they going to be too indulgent in what they can do versus what they can do in the show? And they did it perfectly. They did it about that indulgence. They made the story about the fact that they can't do this.
Yeah.
And it's fucking brilliant, man. I was literally rolling when I saw this movie.
Literally?
Yeah.
You're on the ground.
I was on the ground.
All right, there you go.
I was
Just
off
wanna
the
make
chair,
sure.
man.
The commentary on that is fun too, because the commentary they have on the current version of this is well beyond, like it might have been 2010 or whatever when they did this commentary, and they were like, I don't remember anything about this movie. I don't remember doing this movie.
Really?
Yeah. They're like, can you imagine doing a story where we don't have butters in it anymore? Like there was no butters back then. Yeah. Like there's a lot of just things that they're like, yeah, this is back in the day we did this and we don't remember anything about it. So it's one of those things.
Crazy. I wish they had kept the mole around.
Yeah.
The mole never, I mean, he's dead, right?
Right.
But that was one of my favorite characters of all time.
Yeah.
Just like this. Oh my God. It's hilarious.
So on the list, I also see City Slickers, but I guess it ends up in Colorado and City Slickers. Cop Car, which is a movie that we definitely need to keep reintroducing to people because that's a movie that's really good. I think that you should see that if you haven't seen Cop Car. We haven't mentioned Dumb and Dumber yet. That's another.
It's a big time.
They're going to Aspen, man. They're going to Aspen.
Do you like Dumb and Dumber?
Yes.
Is it Jeremy that doesn't like Dumb and Dumber?
Jeremy does not.
Do you like Dumb and Dumber?
I love Dumb and Dumber.
Man. I mean, once you decide that you're on board, it's kind of like Beavis and Butthead. Once you kind of decide that you're just going to be on board with these characters, it's so much fun.
But how can you not be on board with Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey in that movie?
I don't know.
They are so perfect.
When I first saw it, I was turned off because I was like, God, I mean, it's the same problem I have with Idiocracy, where it's like they're just too dumb to where like you got to be able to do something, but
somehow, some way, in the dumbness there is something smart behind it. Like just the way they come across, like that whole ending, people quote that all the time. The whole like it's like and then there's like I'm really going through a whole bunch of stuff in Dumb and Dumber right now. I'm like sitting there going, so there's the part in the middle where Jeff Daniels like, just when I think you can't get any dumber, you do something like this and completely redeem yourself.
That's the end, isn't it?
And that's no, that's
with the bus.
No, the bus is when they because I think the redeem yourself is he gets the scooter.
Okay, I thought that was at the end. It was the bus.
The end is the bus with a Swedish bikini team comes by, and it's like, yeah, we're looking for 2 like massage boys or oil boys to come to oil us down for the competition and everything. And it's like, we're wondering where you could find one, and like Jeff Daniels is like, go that way or whatever, and then Jim Carrey's like, do you know what you've done? And he runs the bus down and everything. He's like, so you gotta excuse my friend, he's a little slow. The town is that way.
That's right. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, it really is. But Misery, yes, is another. That's another. Kathy Bates. Misery's awesome. We don't really talk about that much anymore.
It really is. It's one of those. It's Stephen King. He's so incredibly prolific that it just seems like, oh yeah, Misery. You know, one of the most amazing films of that year. You know, doesn't even get talked about that much.
Yeah, this is one of the rare times where I actually read the book before the movie, and when I saw the movie, I was like, man, this is really close. Like it's as close as it gets a lot of times. And the only thing different about it that I remember anyway. In the book Misery, you get to see the actual story that Paul Sheldon is writing in there, and like how he for whatever reasons King indulges in you reading his actual thing that he's written.
Yes.
So in the movie Misery, obviously you're not going to see a lot of that, but everything else is like pretty close.
Wow. It's all about that hobbling scene, right? Though I mean, that's all. That's all everybody talks about.
Yes, it is. It's
because
it's best.
Incredible. I mean, the intensity and the tension in that. It's just
does it show the hammer actually making contact?
You
with
sure
the leg?
would think it does by the reaction.
It does like
super quick, right?
Really quick frame of it.
Okay.
This reminds me, I may have even told this story before. In seventh or 8th grade, a friend and I read Misery, and then we had to act out a scene from the movie. So I played Annie Wilkes, and the other guy played Paul Sheldon, and so in the book it's an axe, and
really?
I brought an axe to school.
Oh,
I didn't even think about it. Didn't even occur to me that this could be wrong.
Wow.
I brought an axe to school, and nobody else knew that I had brought an axe. I kind of hid it though. Maybe I did know subconsciously that I shouldn't do this. But we acted out that one scene where she cuts off his leg or whatever. And I'm going to miss obviously. But,
but wait, were you planning on swinging?
No, I did swing
with a real axe.
With a real axe.
Holy shit!
And we put on a strobe light and all this other type of stuff. And I pulled this axe out, and apparently a few people got real scared.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
this was, and I had no idea, and neither did he. Neither did the friend.
Oh man, kids.
And we did it, and we finished it off and everything. And then like afterwards, they were like, the teacher's like, I didn't know that you had brought a real axe.
Yeah,
that's not really cool. I mean, A for the project, but you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
So here's some write-offs, I guess.
You'd be in jail if you did that today.
Oh yeah, for sure. Others I see on there are Phantoms.
Yeah.
Just to have to bring that up.
Did you ever see that, by the way?
Yeah, I did.
Do you remember anything about it?
Only Peter O'Toole saying, no bodies, no graves, no blah, blah, blah. That's all I remember. I remember, and of course, then I think it's the commentary on Mallrats where that You the Bomb and Phantom starts. And then it's actually in the movie in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and everything. But in Mallrats, I remember the commentary is like, all right, here's Clerks, Jay Muse, and he's talking and everything. And Kevin Smith's like, and now here's Phantoms, Ben Affleck. What else is on here?
Jeremiah Johnson is one.
Yeah, Jeremiah Johnson, another Robert Redford.
Yeah. That's one of those movies that I watched it at school. Did you ever see it in school?
Mm-mm.
It was one of those.
I don't know that I've ever seen it actually.
No.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's nice. It's about like the mountain man life and how he gets by. There's actually a good chunk of it that's dialogue free, kind of like All Is Lost. So maybe that's Redford's thing.
Did you like All Is Lost?
I loved it.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I did too.
Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, which is a movie I do not remember much at all.
Okay,
about.
yeah, I was wondering if anybody could explain that
I
movie.
I saw it at the old Franklin Cinema.
Oh, nice.
Back in the day, and I only remember that Buscemi's in it, and he plays like a hitman or something. I think that's what he plays in there or whatever. That's all I remember about the movie. And it came on that wave of Pulp Fiction wannabes.
Yep.
And that came out, and that was not good at all.
Yeah.
Under Siege 2, Dark Territory.
We got to cover our Seagal bases.
Seagal and Katherine Heigl, who was I think 17 or 18 when that movie came out.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you had Why Did I Get Married on here?
It takes place in Colorado.
I think believe it or not, I don't think I've seen the first one, but I have seen Why Did I Get Married 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Why Did I Get Married 2 is just awful. And then there's not really anything else I see on this list. I think Vanishing Point is one that I'd probably want to bring up.
I think that pretty much. I mean, like Jack Frost, and we were talking about Dogville.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith came up, and I think we got pretty much.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Until I go on Facebook and somebody's like, did you not know that Goodfellas was shot there?
Definitely has a Colorado vibe.
It does, doesn't it? All right, so that's Colorado. Let's go on to Connecticut.
Yeah.
So
Connecticut.
Yeah, Connecticut. Connecticut sort of always fills in for when they can't do New York or something.
Right,
and they go to Connecticut or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What are some Connecticut ones that stand out to you?
What do you think?
Strangers on a Train.
Ooh,
was one that takes place a little bit in Connecticut. And since you didn't get to talk about Hitchcock last week with Vertigo being in San Francisco, I figured we could at least talk about Hitchcock a little bit with Connecticut. That is one of my favorite Hitchcocks.
Yes.
Even though it's one of the older ones, it's just the performances are so great. The concept is so simple and yet so amazing. Just the idea of doing someone else's murder, and it's brilliant.
Is it they're trying to murder each other's wives, or is it the wives trying to kill?
Well, one of them is the crazy one. And the one of them's just a normal guy who kind of gets roped into it because the crazy one, not to spoil everything, but the crazy one does his part and thinks that he's agreed to do the other part and he hasn't, and so then he's coming after him, that kind of thing.
And it has that great image of they're at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
And everybody's heads are following the ball going back and forth except for his.
Yeah.
Who's looking straight at the guy.
Yeah.
And
I love that stuff. It's like in Ocean's 11 when everybody turns to see the explosion except for Clooney.
Yeah.
And he's got those glasses. Those shots are always awesome.
Yeah, it's got a beautiful shot of the strangling too and the reflection of the girl's glasses.
Yeah.
Hitchcock was just he loved using the camera in interesting ways. So some of the stuff he did on the carousel, there's a huge, carousel scene at the end. It's just incredible when you look at some of those shots to think about how he would have had to have done them at the time, especially there's so many mechanics that filmmakers can use now to, produce those kind of stuff, or they can just do it in post and digital or whatever. And, he's doing all this stuff, back then. So that was the 50s, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the few classic movies I got to actually run at one point.
Oh, nice.
And it was reel to reel too. When we got it, and I was in New York at the time. They showed a special showing of Strangers on a Train, and they said very specifically you cannot platter mount this because they worry about scratches and stuff like that. It's weird. You can't platter mount it, so because they're worried about scratches. But these reels have been taken to so many different projectionists and projectors and whatever. The practice of cutting one frame off of a reel so that you can see what it is when you break it back down and everything is a common practice. But everybody, if you're okay, so the lazy projectionists out there, instead of just keeping that one frame after the first time it's ever cut, kept cutting additional frames.
Oh shit.
So there were 8 or 9 frames still cut off that you could see because they just taped them back on.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I was like, if you're going to worry about scratches, you certainly should worry about that too. I mean, 9 frames is only a third of a second, but still, I mean, it's something. It can be jarring at times.
Robert Walker was the guy that played Bruno Anthony in that, and he is just so good in that villain
One
role.
of the rare movies where he didn't use like like real famous actor. Like it usually was Cary Grant or Jimmy Stewart or somebody like
Grace
that.
Kelly.
Yeah, Grace
Ingrid
Kelly.
Bergman. Yeah, he.
So The Hunt for Red October is shot in around Connecticut. At least I think the actual like naval base is where it was shot. This is one that came up several times during the what's been shot in Connecticut thing that I was going through. And I guess a good bulk of all the underwater stuff was shot in Connecticut or around the naval base. And that we definitely have to bring that one up. That's an all-time favorite in this room. So
for sure.
But it doesn't, it doesn't obviously have anything that says this is based in Connecticut.
Well, that's the weird thing about Connecticut is that, I mentally, before I even started doing the research, I was like, oh, what is definitely set there? And the only thing I could think of was Mystic Pizza. Because the only thing think about Connecticut is Yale and New Haven. And it being basically suburban New York. Like in every New York story, you hear like, well, I'm going to retire or I'm going to get married and move up to Connecticut and have kids in a mansion, that kind of thing. And it's like, that's kind of, fairly or not, that's kind of how it's portrayed, is this kind of offshoot of New York City.
Yeah.
Christmas in Connecticut, right? Isn't that was the only thing I haven't even seen it, but
Christmas in Connecticut,
isn't that a movie?
Both versions. And I was shocked. I should know this, but I was shocked to learn that the remake was directed by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Really? Holy crap.
This makes the whole road trip worthwhile.
Yes,
That's amazing information.
I swear to God, 1992.
Wow,
Schwarzenegger. I don't know how many
great.
movies he's directed, but it can be a long list.
Can you imagine being directed by Schwarzenegger?
Especially in 1992.
Yeah,
my
back then.
goodness. We're going to do another take. You go stand over here.
Yeah. Well, I would give anything to see footage of him shooting that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Do my movie Christmas in Connecticut.
Well, there's also A Haunting in Connecticut, which apparently was shot in Quebec.
Oh, sure.
That's as one does when you make haunting movies based in Connecticut. Like, I always wonder, like, I understand a lot of times it's tax breaks, and Canada like offers a lot of the tax breaks and everything, but you really couldn't shoot that movie in Connecticut because of the tax. Like, maybe there wasn't a tax break. I don't know. Or there wasn't a location you didn't. I don't know. But another one, Revolutionary Road was shot, I think, or based in Connecticut. Revolutionary Road, the DiCaprio, Kate Winslet marital trouble. Let's do a Jeremy description.
What an emotional fucking movie this is, man.
Yeah.
You're not really prepared, and like, I guess Sam Mendes had done it with American Beauty, but not really to this depth.
Well, there's not a lot of humor balancing it out.
No.
Michael Shannon is as close as it gets to humor in that movie.
Which is bizarre.
Yeah.
You don't think, look at that guy and say,
no.
humor.
Yeah. Also, Courage Under Fire was shot partially in Connecticut as well. I'm guessing a lot of the neighborhood scenes and stuff like that, especially with Denzel in the car drinking as he does in that movie quite a bit. Die Hard with a Vengeance, the highway scenes in Die Hard with a Vengeance were shot in Connecticut.
Hitting all the Die Hard states.
That's right, man.
Nice.
And another one that I was surprised was Righteous Kill was shot in Connecticut as well.
What a dumb fucking movie.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Indeed. All right, what else?
By the way, we missed Die Hard in LA too.
We did.
Just to give a mention.
Another big LA movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about A Mighty Wind?
Oh, I love A Mighty Wind.
Yeah. My research said that was shot
it was Mohegan Sun, I believe,
yeah.
shot in Connecticut.
I think that might be, maybe I'm missing something. I think that might be, in my opinion, Christopher Guest's last really good movie. Like, after that, everything is kind of missing.
I wasn't a big fan of A Mighty Wind.
You weren't even a fan of Mighty Wind?
No.
Man, that last concert almost makes the whole thing worth it.
Yeah,
It's awesome. So good.
That is good, but everything else, it left me wanting a lot more on those. But yeah.
Did you like Best in Show?
Yeah, Best in Show came after Waiting for Guffman. He's still in that. He's still in the zone then. But yeah, Mighty Wind, like, and For Your Consideration was another one though.
I didn't get For Your Consideration much at all.
No, really, the only thing that made me laugh in that was Jane Lynch because she was just really funny in that. Yeah. But like, but yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like Mighty Wind, but Best in Show and
Mighty Wind is much more, I think, dramatic than his regular
Yeah,
comedies
he was
like
going
Best in
something. You're going for something with that relationship, and I think it works.
Yeah,
I
and
think
even
that stuff's really heartfelt.
The last concert with the Mighty Wind is blowing, it's blowing equality or something that. Where it's like an actual, like he really has a lot of input into this music, and it's like engaging folk music. They're like, of course there's some absurd stuff in there, but there was a lot more weight than I thought. It
has some
was.
authenticity to it that I wasn't expecting. Like they kiss at the end of the Rainbow stuff, and the song itself. Even I was just like, oh, that's good stuff. Like that feels like it could have been a real song, and a real story. From the folk days. But yeah, you guys remember the folk days, right?
I do. Of course,
the good old folk days.
I had a folk period in my life.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
There are a couple of big classics, although All About Eve has got like a smidgen of Connecticut. Yeah. It's not really like a lot, but it does have like, I guess, a couple of shots in Connecticut. Your 1950 Best Picture Oscar winner.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great movie. And Bringing Up Baby, which came out in 1938, the Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn movie.
What is it? He's taking care of like a pet leopard.
Yeah, it's
or
a
something
leopard.
Like
Baby is a leopard.
Yeah.
That's the old screwball stuff, man. Like everything in it, like it's not really ultimately my type of movie.
Yeah.
Like I get to the point where I'm like, God, this is so annoying. Like all these things that keep happening, but still, I appreciate it and everything. It's still funny in that 1938 way,
Yeah.
But that's shot all over Connecticut. I think that's like pretty much all over the place.
Yeah.
In there, so, what else, guys?
What about Beetlejuice?
Yeah, Beetlejuice.
That's
about
probably the biggest. Like I can once I knew that it was set there, like it clicked for me. I was like, oh yeah, that seems very Connecticut because they moved from New York. This is their dream house. Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis. This is their dream house and everything. And then the family comes up and screws everything up. What a fun ass movie.
Yeah.
This may be the most fun I've had in a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Ed Wood is better. But I think this is the one that I probably watched the most, actually.
Yeah, just pure fun. Yeah, Beetlejuice is probably his best. For sure. Now, I guess I don't know how much Connecticut really factors in as a
because
character.
it's all at the
it's
about
mostly
the house,
inside the house, but yeah, still. I mean, yeah. Part of The Good Shepherd. That's a movie you don't hear very often. The Good Shepherd. I remember liking that movie.
Yeah,
but it's got a lot of problems in it. Like
it's very dense.
Yeah. But I remember really liking it, but it just wasn't something that I was just like it infected my soul or anything like that. But De Niro directed it, and Matt Damon at the height of his Matt Damonness was in that.
There's a crazy cast with this.
Yeah, there's a million people.
Yeah, Matt Damon, Angelina Jolie. Did I call him Damon?
Yeah, Damon.
Matt Damon, Angelina Jolie,
Dameron?
De Niro,
Damon,
Alec Baldwin, William Hurt, Joe Pesci, John Turturro, Billy Crudup, Michael Gambon, Timothy Hutton, Lee Pace.
Yeah,
there's just a ton of people in this.
There's a lot.
Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah, a ton of people. It's long.
Yeah,
but I remember. I mean, I like those like secret CIA type movies, man. It's just one of those type of things.
Oh yeah, because he starts off at Yale. He's a professor at Yale, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
Good
stuff.
Yeah. Aaron, you got any others?
Well, we haven't talked about the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
We have not. You are correct.
And we can continue not talking about it.
I was hoping to avoid it. No. What's in there? Like it's a.
Oh, I don't know. It was just in the list of the ones I saw.
I think I ran across it, and I think they said that there was like some like little town that they shot or a college.
Yeah.
I think Yale is substituting for whatever other college is in that.
I bet that's what it is
in that movie. Then there is The Ice Storm. Ooh, it's another movie.
That's probably the big one.
That's a movie that I feel like we haven't discussed enough on this podcast. I love me some Ice Storm.
And it's very Connecticut.
Yeah.
Like it is just, all the weather issues and all that kind of stuff they do with. I mean, it's obviously set in that area. So
there's a scene in there where Sigourney Weaver is talking to Christina Ricci, and she's like said something about a little girl must go out into the woods and blah blah blah, some saying or whatever.
Yeah.
Next scene, Christina Ricci's walking through some woods.
Yeah.
Like it's that type of thing. Yeah, man, I love that movie so much. I haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah,
but
me too. I need to revisit.
It's one that I need to start watching again because it's so good.
It'll make you a little bit uncomfortable, though.
Yeah, it will. It's got dark subject matter for sure.
It's Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver. They're together, right?
Everybody's together.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Everybody's
that's
together.
the thing. There's a lot of cheating going on, and there's Tobey Maguire.
There's Elijah Wood.
Yeah. Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene.
Hey, there you go.
Is another one. Although I think that one may be more set in Connecticut than is shot in Connecticut.
Well, so she and the cult are in the Catskills, which is just outside. It's in the New York part of the Catskills.
Yeah.
But then she ends up going to her aunt's place, either at the beginning or at the end, or her sister.
But
or whoever.
I think even the stuff that they shoot at the aunt's place, while they say it's Connecticut, is in upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
I think, but it's still considered Connecticut.
Yeah.
It's set in Connecticut and everything. What do you think about that movie?
I haven't seen it.
Never seen it?
No. When's it from?
This came out in 2012, maybe?
Somewhere
around
there.
there.
Right.
This was Elizabeth Olsen's sort of coming out movie, and she's good in it. I don't know if I like the movie.
Well, I mean, it's not a comfortable watch.
No.
I like the movie a lot. I think the themes, she gets involved with the cult and basically is just mind controlled by this David Koresh type of guy. And it's very affecting. The performances are really good. She's excellent in it.
Yeah, she's really
I'll
good.
have to check it out.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Came out in December of 2011, so it was around that area. But it's definitely not comfortable subject matter. So you got a cult. It's a cult figure movie, like a David Koresh type of person or whatever. And of course his thing is like, free loving but it's more like drugging them and all that type of stuff. And it's not comfortable at all, but it is very dreamlike and it's an interesting movie to watch. I don't know if I ended up liking it in the end, but she's great in it. That's one. If you're an Elizabeth Olsen fan, you got to see that. What else?
Holiday Inn has got to be on your list, right?
Yeah.
And not the Chingy song.
That's right. I'm trying to remember if I've seen this one.
Holiday Inn?
Yeah, I don't know if I have.
Oh, man, this is great. This is Bing Crosby, and who's his counterpart? Is it
Fred Astaire?
Fred Astaire, yeah. Oh, it's great. This is like up there with White Christmas. Of course, the song White Christmas came from Holiday Inn.
Yeah, that's the weird little trivia thing is the song White Christmas doesn't actually come from the movie White Christmas. It comes from Holiday Inn.
Oh, man. I used to watch this movie with my grandmother all the time. She'd have it on VHS, and she would just cackle. She just thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And it's cool seeing, because you think about White Christmas, but it's about all the different holidays, and they'll have like an Easter thing, and the Holiday Inn is in Connecticut, and it gets a lot of people from New York to come up and visit. And Bing Crosby I've got a soft spot in my heart for that guy, man. He's got some really, really beautiful old movies and just a great voice. And this is one of my favorites.
Well, Astaire as well. He's kind of a revelation too. And we think of kind of the transition between, cultural genres like music to movies as being a modern thing. But, that's what was happening there too with, guys like Astaire going into movies and doing great
Frank
stuff.
Sinatra.
And all that stuff. So, yeah.
I see that Rachel Getting Married was shot here. I've never seen that movie.
Oh, really?
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
this is Anne Hathaway being like a total asshole, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
She's fresh out of, I guess she's good with these like kind of addiction type of movies. She's fresh out of rehab. Matter of fact, I think they let her out of rehab just so she can go to this wedding. And she makes a mess out of everything. And it's really, to this point, I don't remember what she had been in, but I think this one was kind of like her breakout I'm an actor type of performance, because before this she was, Princess Diaries, I guess, was the big one that she was in.
Yeah.
And it was more of like, she's pretty, but now she's actually got some chops in this. And she's completely unafraid of being an asshole in this movie.
Yeah,
she revels in it.
Yeah, it's one that I've always wanted to see, and then it's just fallen by the wayside. I've never seen it. I see that the ref also shot.
Yes.
Was it shot here? What was it?
It takes place there.
Takes place there. That is another like underrated gem.
Yes.
Ted Demme directed this one. Dennis Leary comes in. It's like a home invasion, and
he is so great in that movie.
He is. He is
so funny.
Yeah, and he ties up Kevin Spacey and Judy Davis, and they're having marital troubles.
Yes,
and everything.
they hate each other.
They hate each other. But like their experience together sort of makes them warm up to each other again and everything. But
there's a part where where they're tied together and they're trying to get loose when Dennis Leary's in the other room, and she's like, "Is that?" And he's like, "Must be the friction."
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It gets taken to absurd levels, by the way. And then there's like 3 or 4 parts in here. Dennis Leary's counterpart is like basically his foil that he can do his patented rants on, and he lets it loose, and it's awesome.
That was what was funny about Dennis Leary in this time period, this 93 to 95 area. Like there was always a point where they were going to let him do his rant.
Yep.
So it was like Demolition Man, he has a rant, and what's some other movie that he gets? Oh, a Judgment Night, he has a rant.
Oh yeah. Judgment Night. Judgment Night.
It's like they always like it's like they wrote the script and like I don't know if we'll get Dennis Leary or not, but if we do, here's a blank spot for him to do his like MTV style rant. Side Effects. Part of that shot in Connecticut.
Does anybody ever talk about this movie?
No.
They should.
I love this movie.
I do too.
think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Sounded like Tony the Tiger there for a second.
Yeah.
No, I think there are several Soderbergh movies that just kind of get, put behind. People don't get. I think Haywire's the same way. They're just they're great little films, and for whatever reason, they just don't rise to the public consciousness. I think Side Effects is one of those.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a movie that it's got a kind of like a mystery to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a mystery that you don't even know is happening.
Yeah,
really.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's another good like. Connecticut's filled with movies that I'd like to recommend today.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you haven't heard of or have seen this movie, you need to take a look at it.
Oh man, it's really good.
Also, the Stepford Wives. That's a big one.
That is very.
Both of them were shot, but the old one, which I don't think I've ever seen actually, and I have unfortunately seen the Nicole Kidman one.
Yep,
which is not very good at all.
Christopher Walken. Who was the guy in that?
Matthew Broderick.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You know what's weird? I get that movie and Bewitched confused a lot because they came out, I think, around the same time, and so when you bring up Stepford Wives, because they're both remakes, they're both shitty, and I always think, oh, well, Stepford Wives, oh yeah, it's Will Ferrell, right? No, it's Bewitched. Stephen King's Thinner also shot in
what a wild movie.
Did it? Michael Constantine before his My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Oh yeah.
Famous bump, I guess. Is there anything else that we want to talk about from Connecticut? I don't really see anything.
I don't know if anybody's seen The Skulls.
I have.
Yeah, I saw
Pretty
The Skulls.
shitty.
Yeah.
There's not much to it.
Yeah, that
cool.
was was that
That's about
Joshua
the Skull and
Jackson?
Yeah.
There was a period of time when New Line Cinema would come out with all these movies were like this.
Mm-hmm.
The Skulls, Final Destination, Boiler Room isn't really like those movies, but there's a feeling to them that their New Line really just like, and it's a wonder. During the same period of time, they were coming out with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then well, our side pieces are this, and it's like. Man, it just where did that come from? They're like, let's greenlight Lord of the Rings and the Skulls and Final Destination and Boiler Room.
I'll go to bat for Final Destination though.
No, Final Destination's good.
Yeah.
That's I may have told this on the podcast before, but Final Destination's the movie where like when the girl gets hit by the bus, one of the projectionists I knew back then in Hollywood 27 days went over to the projector and cranked the volume all the way to 10 all the way when the bus hit and then turned it back down.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, he was dirty. Well, so that's Colorado and Connecticut.
Yeah.
We went on a really long road trip there. That's a really long. We passed some states on the way to that.
That's right.
But anyway, so we're going to go into our rants.
I'm taking crazy pills!
I'm as mad as hell.
You've never seen me very upset.
Lord Jesus! Lord Jesus!
Let's do it. Aaron, you want to start?
Yeah, I had one that I sent you guys, but then I want to do one about the Oscars because it really bugs me that voting isn't public. And I don't even mean that we have to know who voted for who, but the idea that we can't know how much Shape of Water won by or how close Get Out was or all those kind of things. Every other big voting thing other than movies, like I don't even think the other movie awards do it, but like, in sports, it's gone public. You can see, how much the MVP beat the next one by. The only argument I can think against it is you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, if they didn't get any votes or something. And that just seems really silly for a bunch of grownups, like you got nominated, like that's a huge deal. So I just, especially for the big categories, I really don't understand why we don't know how close it was. Also, especially because, and this is a secondary part of the rant, the voting system is so weird with especially Best Picture, where, and I think the other categories may be like this as well, but I know for sure Best Picture, if no movie gets more than 50% of the vote, which is very likely considering there's 9 nominees or whatever, then they will actually start dropping off the lowest one and redoing the percentages and then adding like the second place votes, moving those up, kind of moving the votes up based on what gets dropped off.
Like a runoff.
It's a weird kind of runoff kind of situation. So because the voting's a little strange anyway, I would love to know how that worked out. What if Get Out actually had the most percentage votes, but because of the way the voting system works, it ended up being something else that leapfrogged it because it had more number 2s.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
might also be a way that they can get viewers too, is by showing the actual tallies.
Yeah. Even use it on the broadcast if you want. Absolutely.
And you may like, I don't know how you would do it. Either you would just announce the winner at the wherever you're hosting, and then backstage show it or whatever, or you could just show it on stage with.
These are things that would be more engaging than seeing big sound mixing and sound.
That's
editing.
correct.
You could do progressive elimination. You could get down to the end of the show and only 3 movies be left.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That would be fantastic.
You know what I mean?
Like, sorry, this is a great movie.
Right.
Like they come out and they just like, all right, here is one of our nominees tonight. And they go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then they're like, unfortunately, this one has been,
or even say at the beginning with, and in ninth place, The Post.
Yeah,
love this movie. Here, check it out. Kind of thing. And or even do 7 through 9 or whatever. But then get to the end and maybe even just have 2. You just got Get Out and Shape of Water left. That seems more exciting to me, and I think it seems more interesting to know those things.
Or you could even say 2 of these 3 movies are gone, and then go to another group and 2 of 3, and then another 2 of 3, and then announce which one's out of this group.
Yeah,
you could really do a lot of cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's be the producers of the Oscars next year, Aaron.
All right, I'm game. I'm game.
It's like Oscars produced by Cinemasins and Sith Pop.
Well, what you've got is, if you're keeping it anonymous, where you don't have to know that Spielberg voted for, Get Out or whatever it is.
That's a secondary thing.
So you don't need to do that. There's no reason why that information shouldn't be public.
I don't think so. I can't think of any reason. Seems like a good idea all around to me. But
no, yeah, it would be awesome. I want to see the next Oscars. Like, I would be so gripped on that.
I know, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. See now, this is a great idea, and someone needs to run with it.
Yes.
All right, so my rant is sort of based in some sort of experience, and also my new experience is not being in a movie theater, working in a movie theater anymore. Working at a movie theater, the biggest thing that annoyed me as far as how corporations deal with renovations and things like that are that they don't plot it out very well. When we got our digital projectors back in the day, in 2011, I believe it was, we were supposed to get those things during a down part of the season, which makes a lot of sense. You don't want to shut down during a big tentpole type of movie. As it turned out, our digital conversion at Hollywood 27 happened on the week of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And
it was part 2, wasn't it?
It was part 2, I think. Yes, it was. And while it went okay, because not only were the technicians who came in amazing at what they do, but I'm amazing at what I do. And let's I can't emphasize that enough.
I really want to hammer that last one.
I am fucking amazing at what I do. We got all those Harry Potters on projectors for the midnight show, and the last ones were coming in the day of.
That's crazy.
Of Harry Potter, or at least the day before or whatever. And the way they did it, also with the way the computers are set up, they don't all talk to the projectors right away. So I had to go around and individually install Harry Potter on all these projectors and so on and so forth, instead of just pressing a button and going, all right, and it's all done. So I wasn't a big fan of that. If you're going to do a digital conversion, it should be like, all right, it's April or it's February or something like that. Although this February, with Black Panther and all that would have been
not February 2018.
Yeah. But you do it during that. Now I understand you also have lots of theaters and you have only so many people that can come in and do these things. So there are going to be some theaters that probably are going to run into big movies and everything like that are going to be on the schedule, but not as big as our theater was. Mm-hmm. If an 8 screen, I get it. Just do it. You can do that in a day almost with the crew that you had. With 27, you couldn't do that, and that was just unbelievable. Right now, Aaron and I went to my old theater last night. Hollywood 27.
Had you been there before?
I have, but it was a long time ago. It was when Jeremy was still working. Okay. Was that the one Jeremy was working at with you? Yeah. I think it was that one when Jeremy was working there. We went and saw Deep Blue Sea. So
that was 99.
99.
Holy crap. So I was there during that time.
Yeah.
So Hollywood 27 is going through all the renovations that have taken place on all the other theaters. They're putting the recliners in. They're even putting in this stuff now where there's subwoofers in the seats or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Vibrates and all
it's
that.
It's like the Real D experience or something like that.
I don't know. They had some sort of branding name for it. Last night I called it Butt Blasters. That's probably not it. That's probably not right.
I've seen that movie.
Exactly. Me too. But they're renovating now, and I think they started off with... They had 16 auditoriums that they were renovating all at once. So Hollywood 27 was really Hollywood 8 at the time. Now they're Hollywood 16. But again, they have taken out all of the really big auditoriums, which means that they're playing Black Panther on some of the smaller screens and stuff like that. And that movie has just done so much gangbusters that you not being able to use the ones in the back, the 15, 16, and 17, it cripples your theater when you do that. And I understand maybe wanting to do stuff in order or whatever, and you need to kind of block people off because you don't want people walking in and stepping on nails and having stuff fall on their head and all that. But you could at least take out just one of the way Hollywood 27 is set up, you could take out just one of those big theaters and then take off a side and not the entire hallway and everything, and just get those done. And then once those are open, close off the other part of the hallway. Instead, they've got 15, 16, and 17 all gone. It's just, they're all, come on, you got to have to come with a better plan when you're renovating theaters, I think.
It's like road construction, right? They don't close the entire road usually. They'll work on one side of the road and then, move traffic over to the other side and then work on the other side of the road, So
yeah, absolutely.
Just be smart about it.
Right. And who knows? Maybe they did look at it like that and said, no, we can't do it that way. Knowing what I know about how corporations think about this type of stuff, I don't think they gave it much thought. I think they just said, we're just going to do these and you're going to block it off and you're going to be fine.
Do you think that they thought that it was going to be the downtime? It was going to be a February thing, so it would be fine. They had no idea that Black Panther's going to be...
They may have thought that, although you have to think that Black Panther's going to do at least regular summer blockbuster type business. And so, maybe you thought that there wasn't really any reason. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you thought it was going to be big but not that big, and so therefore I still feel like you should have at least one of those big auditoriums open. That way when you schedule all your other movies, you have options. And when you don't have those big auditoriums in play, you run out of a lot of options. You start putting in stuff like I saw Annihilation in one of the smallest auditoriums. Now, it didn't do great business or anything, but what if it had?
Yeah.
You know, it's going to sell that little theater out every show, and people are going to be turned away and all that. And they take that seriously in corporate about turning people away because they assume that if they get turned away here, they'll never come back to this theater and they'll go to other places. Where, you know, Regal sort of has a stranglehold on Nashville, so I don't know why. Although recently Regal just got bought out.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So they're not Regal. So it's some other European theater that bought them.
Oh, really?
I think so. Regal's a private company now, but
interesting.
In this Nashville area, Regal theaters are really the only game in town. There's some AMCs that have started, you know, going around, but anyway.
I prefer AMC at this point.
I don't.
Really?
Yeah. So far, my AMC experiences have not been great.
Yeah, I guess there have been some technical issues.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But they're both the same to me. I mean, essentially. I think Regal's slightly better, but
I can't believe you guys don't have like a restaurant theater here yet. Like one that does like a full menu and serves you during the
movie.
One.
Well,
there is one?
Yeah, there's one south of town.
Yeah, Thoroughbred. Franklin does that. But yeah, that's not like you know, you're sitting here in Nashville. Oh, I really want to go down to that restaurant.
Right,
theater.
yeah.
You know, it's, you know, you have to drive all the way down there to do that. So
all right, I got a rant about The Bachelor. All right,
please take it down.
I have never
watched. You mean the Chris O'Donnell 1999 film?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, he's adorable in that.
Yes, he is.
When is Chris O'Donnell not adorable?
You know,
never.
I don't think I've ever watched The Bachelor on purpose. I think I've like accidentally seen like the beginning of the seasons where they roll up, and this was early on in its run, where they roll up and they introduce themselves to each other and everything. I just don't. The Bachelor is a huge thing, especially with like bloggers and like sports journalists and things like that. For whatever reason, they really get into The Bachelor. It is extremely. It's like The Hills back in the day, or Laguna Beach, where it's obviously very, very fake and staged and all this stuff. And it ends with somebody getting fucking married. Now, somebody explain like the logic of one person dating in front of each other. Several women or men, and then even them knowing that they end up with one, and then they decide to get fucking married.
Yeah.
The conceit of this just never got me on board. But people are into it. I guess it's the production, or it's Chris Hansen, or it's whatever it is. But
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm sure this point has been brought up many times, but I think ultimately people just don't care. Like the ending of it is their movie. They watch, oh, that's the one I wanted the whole time. They don't care what happens afterwards.
Yeah, apparently.
It's more of a competition than actually relationship, you know.
Yeah. And any other thing. Now, I watch trashy reality TV. I watch MTV's The Challenge.
Yeah.
But there's a point to that. There's a goal. I mean, it's terrible people doing terrible things, but there's a goal to it at the end of the day that doesn't have anything to do with like building your life around somebody. I don't know if any of these relationships have actually lasted. I'm sure some of them have. But
have some of them?
I think a couple have.
I mean, there's been so many of these things that you think just by chance.
There is a reality show that has that is responsible for I think 5 marriages in its run. It's no longer on, and all of those relationships have stayed together. Do you know
Naked and Afraid?
No, no. The Biggest Loser.
Oh, nice.
Makes sense though, right? You're going through this experience together and that kind of thing. That's that's actually how relationships are made. They're not made, in this kind of game show kind of way.
Oh, it's crazy. So the end of this season of The Bachelor, typically they have the final rose ceremony, and the guy or the girl, in this case the bachelor, gives the final rose to the person that he wants to marry, the woman that he wants to marry. And so this happens, right? And then they have this quote after the rose presentation, like a reunion special, basically. And during that, so this guy Ari had given a rose to this girl Becca, right? And they're going to get married and everything's good to go. And so after that happened, after that episode, Ari changes his mind and he wants to go with this other chick who I don't even remember what her name is. And so the reunion show or whatever it is, or the finale, takes place with cameras in the face of Ari and Becca. as Ari tells Becca that he doesn't want to marry her anymore.
What?
Okay. And
worst,
then
man.
they, quote, show this unedited, meaning that they show the entire conversation with an ISO shot on him and ISO shot on her, split screen. And it goes through, he comes in, she's like, hey, what's going on? He's like, Becca, I need to talk to you.
Oh, God.
The entirety of this thing, apparently unedited, happens. And he tells her, this is what I want, this other woman and that kind of thing. And she freaks out, understandably. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, go. Like after 10 minutes or something like that, she says, just go. And he's like, oh, all right. And he walks off. And she's understandably upset and crying and in the bathroom. Motherfucker comes back into the fucking house on the somewhat urging of the producer. Mm-hmm. Like he's like ready to go. And he looks over at the camera of the producer and they're like, okay, maybe. And he goes back in and it prolongs it for another thing. And so we got the entirety of this episode. My wife is watching this, by the way. This is why I'm having to watch this. Mm-hmm. And it goes through this whole thing. And then they're like, at the end of the show, Chris Hansen says, and we'll have part 2 coming up tomorrow. I'm like, motherfucker! Literally, there's a follow-up to this, and they have the follow-up where he has to confront her, and it's fucking bullshit, and it should be shut down. Fuck it.
Yeah, that's, I mean, and it's weird, like, how much The Bachelor, like, inspired all these Fox knockoffs that came out like in the last decade and everything. Joe Millionaire was one of them. There was the other one where the guy was an actor and the bride was trying to tell her family that she's marrying this guy, and this guy is always in every situation fucking everything up, and he's a terrible person and all those different things, and the family's like, just like, you cannot marry this guy and all that. By the end of it, he's like, they're about to get married, they had the whole wedding and everything, and he's like, I have one thing to say, I'm sorry, one thing to say, I'm an actor, blah blah blah, and it's like, and really when it comes down to it, as terrible as that is, it's The Bachelor is just as terrible.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
We try to seem like The Bachelor is some sort of like higher type of thing than something like that. No, but it really isn't. It's
I'd rather
all
watch
show.
Yeah, I'd rather watch Temptation Island than the fucking Bachelor.
Yeah, exactly. Temptation Island. Oh my God.
Anyway, I hate that show. I will never watch it again. I'm sure ABC is very sad to lose my business.
They are.
But yeah.
All right, we want to do some recommends and warns?
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Totes Amazeballs.
They're great.
It won the Academy Award.
Oh, for what?
For best movie ever made.
I'm going to recommend Icarus, that documentary that won.
Yeah.
This is on Netflix, right?
It is on Netflix. It is fascinating. I love documentaries that do this. So the guy, I think his name's Brian Fogel. He's a cyclist, and he wants to run this one race that's in France. It's not the Tour de France, but it's like, I think, the 10 hardest stages of the Tour de France.
Oh wow!
And so like he runs it completely clean. He's like a 14th place finish or whatever. But he gets in his head that I want to see how I would do if I was on steroids or HGH or whatever. And I'm gonna film this and everything. I'm gonna try to get this. So he starts off thinking, all right, I'm gonna just do this, and I'm gonna expose this cycling, this sport where they say that they're trying to do it clean, and they don't really seem to have any drug. They don't really have any real good drug detection.
Do they not? It seems like every race somebody's getting busted.
Well, and apparently it's really easy to bypass, and that's the one thing that he brings up and everything is it's really easy to pass. It's really I guess not in this particular race. They say they have drug testing, but apparently they don't. So he contacts a guy who is I can't remember that he contacts an American first. The American guy is going to help him do this. He's going to help him pass the tests and everything with the clean urine and all that type of stuff. But then he's like, you know what? Probably wouldn't be the best for my reputation. How about I hook you up with this guy who's in Russia, who does this for Russian athletes all the time. And you think this is going to be about him doing this race and this Russian guy helping him. It turns into something completely bigger than that.
Huh.
And if you ever just want to be just fascinated with how people lie about things and just how they cover things up and all this other stuff, and especially I guess apropos in this day and age where we're talking about possible election meddling and collusion and all this other type of stuff. This is coming from the exact same place that were,
Well, I mean, they were banned. The whole Russian contingent
they were banned,
was banned,
but then they were brought back.
Yeah.
They were just.
Well, technically, in the Winter Olympics, they were athletes who were Russian.
Yes.
Right,
they
right,
weren't
right.
competing as Russia, whatever that means.
OAR, yeah.
It's a great jam band.
Yeah, it really is. But it's fascinating. I don't want to say much more about it. Actually, it's one of those type of things. It starts off one way and it has a much bigger thing to look at.
That's awesome. I was looking at that, browsing through Netflix the other day, and I was like, maybe
it's pretty
check it out.
fantastic.
All right, I will now.
Yeah, definite recommend. It leads right into my recommend as well, because one thing I was thinking about Netflix is a lot of times it gets all this heat, deservedly so, for all this content that it puts out. And when stuff like Bright comes out, or Mute most recently, that gets just trashed by critics, those get a lot of attention. But there's actually good stuff that's coming out on Netflix too that I think gets buried sometimes. So I wanted to bring up A Futile and Stupid Gesture. I don't know if either of you have seen it.
Not yet. This is the David Wayne thing, right?
This is about National Lampoon.
Yeah, it is. It is David Wayne. Yeah.
And it is, again, it's interesting because you wouldn't think there'd be a lot to give away with the story about this, but the way it handles the conceit of telling this story is fascinating to me. It's very meta, very interesting. Goes right along with kind of how Lampoon would do it. There's this also fun thing that happens in some of these things where people are playing characters So you've got these people playing Chevy Chase and Jim Belushi and all these characters and doing a fairly good job at it. And it's interesting both in what it's teaching you about National Lampoon and where it came from, and also in kind of how it's lampooning itself a little bit. So yeah, I'd highly recommend it. But there's a lot of stuff on Netflix, just to list a couple, like Okja, I think we've talked about before. Mudbound is one I think that gets buried that's on Netflix.
Mudbound's so good.
It's really good. So I just say, like, there's stuff on Netflix that is good, like really good, that's coming out amongst the stuff that's also, really bad. So, search it out.
Recommended this Futile and Stupid Gesture by somebody on Facebook. So I think that'll be one of my next things that I watch.
I always forget that it's on there. I was looking for something to watch the other day, and I forgot that
I
was
think
on
this
there.
room especially will love it. I think it's right up your guys' alley. I really do. Yeah.
So this isn't a documentary. This is an actual representation of it.
No, it's not a documentary at all. But it's even not. It's almost not a biopic, even though it's kind of it's an historical meta narrative.
Nice.
So I don't know how to explain it, but
I've seen a couple of things. There's an actual documentary about how Lampoon started. I believe that's also on Netflix. That was really interesting on its own. So I want to see how they acted out and everything. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
Have you guys seen The Outsider? The Jared Leto thing about the Yakuza on Netflix?
No.
It just came out a couple days ago, maybe yesterday or today. So this is Jared Leto infiltrating the Yakuza in Japan, and it is getting ripped.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is getting terrible reviews. The early things looks like 7 out of 10 out of IMDb, but overall, like, the reviews I've read about it are just scathing, and from like the regular outlets and everything.
Yeah,
I mean, it's to be expected. Again, I mean, they're putting out 700 pieces of original content in the next year.
Yeah,
700.
And now Obama's
that's 2 a day.
Getting into it too.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm going to recommend a commercial.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Yes. So I got turned on to this music video that was directed by Spike Jonze. Now, Spike Jonze has done some of the best music videos of all time.
Yeah.
And it was this music video with FKA Twigs who's a performer who her song isn't featured in this. The song is from Anderson .Paak. It's called Till It's Over. And so I was watching it because I knew Spike Jonze was involved with it, and it got all this press. And it's this woman that comes home from her job, and she kind of shat upon, and she gets sits down on the couch. And then she says, "Hey Siri, play me something good or that I'd like." And the song starts playing. And then it takes this visual turn into completely different territory.
Yeah.
And it's Spike Jonze. It almost reminds you of Michel Gondry type of stuff, but there's a lot of overlap with Spike Jonze and Michel Gondry, I think. And it's visually stunning. And FKA Twigs, who I guess has got to be a very highly trained dancer, is absolutely magnetic in this thing.
Man, this sounds like it's right up my alley.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Ultimately, it is for an Apple HomePod.
Right.
It's an ad for it. But shot as a music video and appraised as a music video, it is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best I've seen this early year, probably over the last calendar year.
How long is it?
It's about 4 or 5 minutes or so.
Well,
Song length.
Yeah.
It sort of reminded me of that Jamiroquai video that came out in the I guess the mid '90s or whatever. The was it
Virtual Insanity?
Virtual Insanity,
where the room moved around him or whatever.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of that
video.
Oh,
man,
it's fantastic.
That's a great song too.
Yeah, it is. But it sort of reminded me of that. But yeah, this is just sort of it's just so trippy and cool.
It's amazing because it takes it's got such a great sense of space. So once she starts manipulating this room, and then ends up going down this big hallway that appears basically in our apartment, there's a shot from the back of the hallway seeing her and looking back into the apartment. It's still in that arrangement that she had set up with these movements, and it's static, and it kind of grounds you to where the rest of the experience happens. And man, I loved it. I've watched it.
Sounds cool.
3-4 times now.
Yeah.
It's really good. You should check it out. It's easily Googleable. Just Apple HomePod commercial. Yeah.
Very cool.
We're going to do some warnings.
Let's warn.
Warning.
Yes.
Okay, so this movie isn't bad, but I'm going to warn against A Wrinkle in Time.
So how did that go? What's the verdict on this?
Okay.
It's not awful.
No, not awful by any means. First thing that struck me about this movie is the extreme Disneyfication of it.
Oh, really?
I read A Wrinkle in Time when I was 9. I think, in fact, I read it twice because at some point in school I had to do something. I think I had to do a diorama or something on it, and and I read A Wrinkle in Time. I read A Wind in the Door and Swiftly Tilting Planet. I read all those books, but at 9, I don't think I even at 9 imagined this movie being this super colorful and the characters are all whimsical and Reese Witherspoon looks like she's really I love this. I can't wait for my kids to see this and all that. But it grates on me after a while, just all this type of presentation. And there are so many moments in there where score would be better, but she uses Ava DuVernay uses these contemporary pop songs in it, which it doesn't fit A Wrinkle in Time to me to have these pop songs playing. And there's one really cool moment in this where Meg, the main character, is walking up basically invisible stairs and oh, this is awesome. And then some pop song starts playing and you're like, what the hell's going on with this? There are 3 or 4 really good moments, I think, in this. The one part that I do remember from the book are all the kids bouncing the ball, all in sync and everything, which is a really great scene in this. I think that's what happens in the book. It's at least close to what it happens in the book. And there's another one where the kid, I guess it's Charles Wallace is his name, the character, is dragging 3 characters through this dark hallway to this uncertain ending or whatever. Really good shots in there, but I just don't like the Disneyfication of it. I don't like the bright, vibrant colors. There's some pacing issues in it. And I'm not I've been holding this book to my heart for years and years, and I wanted to see it done the right way and everything. It was just that it fell short for me, and I was really rooting for this one. So.
Yeah, it feels like that. That's what I see all over my Twitter feeds too, is just disappointment, because I think a lot of people were really rooting for this movie. It feels like one of those movies where everybody wanted it to be an A and it turned out to be a C, so we're all calling it a B-. It's just kind of one of those things because we want it to be so good. But yeah, I think there's other flaws in the movie too. I think it's structurally it's a little jagged. It kind of jumps all over the place when it doesn't feel like, to me, it has to. I mean, the source material would be very difficult to film, obviously. But we've seen people tackle source material that's difficult and pull it off, and I just don't know that this pulls it off in the way that it wanted to. I think the emotion's there every once in a while, but because of that structural weirdness, I think it short circuits that in some ways. So.
And I think the story for this was written before, because Neverending Story is also written a book before the movie came out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when the Neverending Story was written, but there are some things, if I'm looking at this as what movie came out first, Neverending Story, there's a lot of some of the score has some same feel to it. Like they're trying to go for that, obviously. And the thing that they call the it in this is the nothing, essentially. And I don't know if I remember that being like that in the book. Maybe it was. But it's almost exactly the same thing. It's this thing that infests all these worlds and it changes people and all that. And I'm like, it's very Neverending Story, and that's a great fantasy movie to copy off of if you're trying to make a kids movie. I can say for sure that there's not any of that stupid bathroom humor or anything like that that pops up in this. It's actually looks like it's attempting to be a little bit higher minded than most kids entertainment and everything, but I feel like just like what you were saying with the structure and everything, the pacing, all that, just all in the one package, just didn't. It fell short.
Yeah,
you got to warn, Aaron?
I do. I'm gonna warn. I don't know if this has ever happened before. I'm gonna warn against something I haven't actually seen.
Oh, okay.
And the person who warned me from it hadn't actually seen it, and I want you, if you've never seen it, to warn others not to see it. This is a movie called Push on Netflix, and the whole conceit of this movie is that this guy, I forget the guy's name, I think maybe it's David Brown, something like that. He is going to convince somebody to murder somebody else through subliminal clues, those kind of things. And the conceit of the movie is that it's real. The conceit of the movie is that he's really doing this. So he has all these people come in to apply to be in his movie. They sign waivers, that kind of stuff, and then they're told they don't get the job. Well, then afterwards, they go start planning things in their lives. So they've got this big corporate, and I'm going to spoil a lot of this movie, so you don't even have to go see it.
There you go.
So they have all these things in their lives that they're convincing them there's this charity that needs to be supported, but this one person who is supposed to be dead is not dead, but they need them to be dead. And then at the end, it all culminates with them, will they or won't they push them off this building? Now, obviously, they have something at the bottom that's going to catch them or whatever kind of thing. And it is, from what I've heard about it and what I understand about it, just seems to be so manipulative. I'm almost sure it's all nonsense anyway. I'm sure these people have to be in on this. Like, I can't imagine you could legally do something like this. And it seems like you were talking about The Bachelor, just feels just so gross about something that should be important. Relationships should be important, and it's just, to gross them up like that.
Yeah.
Well, life should be important, So, man, when I heard about this, I was like, I'm going to be on SinCast and I'm going to tell people not to see this thing, because the whole idea is to do something like this, get enough buzz. Can you believe what he did? And then everybody goes and watches it, and it's like, well, I guess we should do more stuff like this. So, yeah, that would be my vote, not to do more stuff like this. So I didn't even see it.
Assuming that there is any reality to this, that's going to fuck some people up, regardless if, when you have the reveal and say, oh, this wasn't real. You think about like the Stanley Milgram experiments where they had people shocking fake people, and the Stanford prison experiment with Philip Zimbardo, where these guys turned into these, autocratic, terrible prison guards. These people, that stuff's not allowed anymore. You know? So either some people are severely fucked up, from the filmmakers to the people in the other way, or this is some bullshit. And
I think it's the latter. Yeah. I hope so. I hope they're actors. I really do. But I don't know if you guys mind if I spoil the actual end and tell you what happens.
No, yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
Chris, is that all right?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
By the way, the guy's name is Darren Brown.
Apparently
he does this a lot. And if you're trying to look this up, because Push, there's a million pushes.
Based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
Yes, exactly.
This is called The Push.
Push.
And so it's Darren Brown. Anyway.
So at the end, they show this guy, and he decides not to push the person off. And so it's giving you this feel of, oh, look, there's hope in humanity. He wouldn't actually do it. Then they undercut that immediately with showing you 5 other people who actually did push the person off, and just kind of this pull the rug out of you, from under you kind of moment where it's like, oh, I guess humanity is messed up after all. and I guess they're showing these people saying, what did you learn from your experience? And these people who push them off are like, I learned that, maybe I need to be not so susceptible and manipulated. And I'm thinking, okay, come on, this can't be real. If that were a real person who's being told that they were just manipulated into thinking they actually murdered somebody, they would be losing their mind.
Yeah.
They would not be sitting in front of a camera and having an interview. I don't think. So, yeah, I think it all has to be actors. And at the end of the day, I don't know that it even matters because the whole concept is just icky to me. So,
Yeah. No,
So anyways.
that's not good. Yeah.
That was kind of rant-a-warn.
Yeah.
Right.
My warn is a soft warn because I'll probably get some pushback on this. But I watched a little bit of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee the other day. Now, when this came out on Crackle, I think it was the website, a few years ago, I watched it. It was the first season. I forget everybody that he had on.
Like Larry David, I think, was in the first one.
Jerry Seinfeld is it's literally that. It's comedians getting together, usually in some sort of crazy car that Jerry Seinfeld picks out, and then they go to get coffee, and then they talk at a cafe. I remembered they're very short. It's like 15 to 20 minutes, basically. And I remembered being somewhat entertained, but not really laughing that first season. And then I watched a little bit the other day, and I watched the Steve Harvey episode, and I watched the Amy Schumer episode. And not only was I not laughing, like I was eye-rolling through a lot of it, because at this point in his career, which he can, Jerry Seinfeld has gotten so pretentious that he literally looks down on the regular people. Like he'll be insulting a waitress or something like that because he thinks it's funny. And he'll basically say like, I don't talk to the common man anymore. This is the only conversation that I can have. And the way that he's breaking down comedy in the Steve Harvey episode, he's like, people can't do what we do. Like you can go to school and learn how to be a doctor, but you can't learn how to be a comedian. I'm like, get the fuck over yourself, man. Like he's probably right. But it's put in such an asshole-ish manner that it's like, he was always an asshole in Seinfeld, in the sitcom, but he mitigated it both with the cast and the writing, and it was just so funny. And it was probably Larry David's influence that really like made that, like softened that up to where it was palatable. But here, it's grating on me.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen these episodes?
I saw the episode with Jim Carrey, and I really liked it. But I think that had more to do with Jim Carrey's current. I mean, he says things. Yeah. It's just like they're so out there. Right now I could listen to Jim Carrey give speeches right now every day. Like he's so interesting. So that's probably why I enjoyed it. And then my wife has actually gotten into it since it's been on Netflix. And so I've watched a little bit with her, and it strikes me as disposable entertainment. So
I saw it when it first came out and everything. And when, I don't know if Jeremy was still writing for Real SEO at the time, but I know I wrote an article about it.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I saw the first couple of episodes and everything. I haven't really caught up to it. I was surprised it went so far because most web series, as they were basically called back then, didn't have much of a chance to be a thing really. And now it's like regular that it happens. But Seinfeld has sort of become, that's his thing, right? That he's rude to people and everything. Like there's that viral video of Kesha going up to try to hug him at some awards thing, and he's like no, he's like, sorry. I mean, and then the reporter is like, Seinfeld's like, I don't know who that is. And he's like, it's Kesha, and he goes, oh, I didn't know who she was. And he's like, good luck to her anyway. And it's kind of funny, but it's the way he is all the time. It feels like, and there's not like. It feels like there at least one. Can we see some warmth from you at least once? Yeah,
and he probably is, but the way he's coming across on the show is just, I don't know if he's trying to become his character from Seinfeld. The presentation bothers me. There are some good episodes. The Stephen Colbert episode is really good. The David Letterman episode is really good, and then the Larry David episode is really good. But then the rest of them just fall flat.
Yeah. All right. Do we have some time for some questions?
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth. I am listening.
Okay. These come from Reddit and from emails and from Facebook, and we do it all. So definitely send in your questions. If you could change one thematic or genre aspect of a movie to make it a comedic parody of itself, what movie would you choose and what would you change?
Okay. So you might argue that movies like Transformers and Fast and the Furious are already parodies of themselves. You may argue that, but I'm going to say you're wrong because I feel like they have comedy in it and they do understand that they're kind of stupid, but I don't think they're self-aware enough.
Yeah.
And if they were more self-aware, I think they could get away with the things they really want to get away with. Because quite honestly, they have gotten to the point where just anything goes, but nobody acknowledges it. I feel like there should be a point in any of these movies where the characters are just like, this is insane. This is the stupidest thing you've ever thought of, blah, blah, blah. And then everything changes from that. I would love these movies from that point, because if Fast and the Furious, they're about to, jump from one building to another and they're like, hey, this has no chance of working at all, but we're going to do it anyway. How do you think? What do you think? Then I would be fine with it, and they just make it a little bit more, parody and slapstick and everything like that, a little bit more jokey, a little less family and all that type of stuff, then I would get on board with it, I think. So,
I think Fast is probably closer than Transformers.
No, it definitely is.
Figuring that equation out. I feel like maybe Ludacris plays that role a little bit in the Fast movies, kind of our person going, what is really going on here?
Yeah,
so there's a little bit of that, but I totally agree.
Right.
You can pull it off too. It's like 22 Jump Street, really even 21 Jump Street, where it's like they're acknowledging that they look old as fuck and they're going into school, or like Ice Cube saying it's literally the same, or Nick Offerman, I guess, it's literally the same thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like you could make that a little bit more Naked Gunny, and I'd be
Naked
good.
Gunny.
Yeah.
I
want to do a Blade Runner 2049 parody.
Okay.
That's all establishing shots. So, you do these nice 2.5 minute establishing shots. You get down to the characters, and right in the middle of their first word, you just cut to the next establishing shot. Just do that for the whole movie.
It would still be over 2 hours
right,
long.
Exactly. Exactly.
That'd be fantastic. I would watch that movie, by the way. I would totally watch it.
I should put that up on YouTube today. I mean, you could literally cut the movie that way, and it'd be hilarious. So.
Oh, yeah.
I want to make 28 Days Later, but with goofy ass zombies. All right. So there's this, I'm going to get back to that. There's this YouTube account that is ostensibly a pronunciation guide. So a lot of times for these videos, we'll have to figure out like how to pronounce a person's name, especially if it's foreign or something like that. And so like there was one, I remember I was looking for Louis Tomlinson from One Direction. And I didn't know if it was Louis or Louis. And so I went to this, pronunciation guide. We've all seen them where it's like Louis Tomlinson.
Yeah.
And on this one, I was ready for it, and I was trying to hear it really well, and it goes, Louis Tomlinson? And I was like, what the fuck? And it killed me.
Yeah.
Every time like I run into this, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So if you took 28 Days Later, and you've got the suspense, and you've got all that build up, and then you see Cillian Murphy look over his shoulder, and then you've got some goofy motherfucking ass zombies chasing him. I think just that alone would make that a parody.
It would completely change it for sure.
You see, like guys just kind of like having spasms and like he's smiling real big and everything. I think that would be hilarious.
Yeah, you could do a lot. You could do a lot with it, with them being goofy. Like it could just like be walking towards them and split in half for no reason, and all sorts of little things that you could do with that.
Everything else the same.
Yeah.
I think it would make it awesome.
You got the Dick Van Dyke zombie that's tripping over the ottoman.
Yeah.
Put little obstacles in front.
Oh yeah. That'd be awesome. And it'd be great also if you like had a hint of the Dick Van Dyke theme.
There you go.
All right. I like this one a lot. Elon Musk is a legend, and his life is a movie waiting to happen. If there were going to be a movie about Elon Musk, what would it be about? Who would star as Elon Musk, and who do you think should direct?
Aaron, you go ahead, because my answer is somewhat close to yours.
Yeah, I'm just a huge Spike Jonze fan. I love what he does. Charlie Kaufman, writing a Spike Jonze film is always like the top tier, gonna break my brain in all the right ways. And I think this could be really cool with especially Elon Musk's story, because he's such a weird thinker. And that's, a lot of geniuses, that's where they end up, Tesla or whoever, because they're willing to think in these very strange ways. And so I think you could represent how he's creating and how he's inventing. Spike Jonze could really represent that in some interesting ways. I have starring Matthew Broderick.
Interesting.
It is an interesting choice, and I would tell you, I actually stole this. I actually was just Googling who should play Elon Musk because I want to get an idea of what other people are saying. And somebody said Matthew Broderick. And the more I started thinking about it, I was like, I think he could pull it off. I really think he kind of looks like him. He could play him interestingly enough, and it would be interesting to see him in that kind of weird, dramatic role. So, plus it's time for a Broderick and Sance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
I would fully support that.
Yeah, so there you go.
A Brodessance?
A Brodessance. There you go.
I'm somewhat similar. And by the way, did you guys see that thing when it was the Falcon 9 that he shot up and had the actual, like, it went into space and it was playing David Bowie and all that?
Yeah.
Somebody
the Falcon Heavy.
Yeah, that's right. Someone had put two pictures side by side and said, here is a Tesla playing Bowie in space, and then here's the Prestige with Bowie playing Tesla.
That's crazy.
It's so awesome, isn't it?
Great.
All right, so I thought of three people who could possibly play Elon Musk: Colin Hanks,
Oh, okay.
Guy Pearce, and Mads Mikkelsen. All of them came to my head when I was really studying Elon Musk's images on Google there for a second. I'm going to end up with Guy Pearce on this. I think Guy Pearce is the guy who that could do this. But I want to get Charlie Kaufman to write it, and he could direct it too. And you could also get Michel Gondry. I mean, his story really does lend itself to a Spike Jonze or something like that, written by Charlie Kaufman or whatever, because you can kind of go wherever you want to with it if you want. You don't have to you don't want to make a straight biopic of Elon Musk, I don't think. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. What did Kaufman direct? Was it just connected to
Schenectady, New York? And I think there was he's done a couple.
Did he do adaptation? Did he direct that?
No, that was Spike Jonze.
No, that's
Spike Jonze did that.
But he's done a couple others, I think. Oh, Anomalisa.
Did you guys like that?
I love Anomalisa.
It's really good.
Yeah, he only did those two and then a TV movie called How and Why. It has Michael Cera in it.
Huh.
But it feels like his life deserves to have something like that, where, whereas in an adaptation, it's that Susan Orlean, I think that's how it is, Susan Orlean. He takes liberties with her life and the making of the Orchid Thief and everything. So you could do that with him too.
Yeah.
And I think it would be great.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going to happen in like 30 years or so. I mean, it could happen, I guess, in 5. But to really have a historical perspective, I think in 30 years or so, it'd be a good time to look back. So I would take actual Edgar Wright. Who by this point in his life is probably towards the end, like he's done with directing, but he's so inspired by this story to come back and do his Edgar Wrightness. And couldn't you see this guy's story like cut up and edited and everything like Edgar Wright?
Yeah.
Especially at the beginning of his life or where he's hatching these ideas and everything, and it's just bam, 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 wham, bang, and all that stuff. Wham, bang?
Yeah.
All right. And I am going to choose Rami Malek as his doppelganger. I looked at side-by-side comparisons, and he looks a lot like him. This Rami Malek, I've never actually seen Mr. Robot. Have you ever watched that?
Oh, yeah. I've watched all of Mr. Robot, yeah.
Is it good?
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Okay.
Season 1 is transcendent.
Really?
Yeah, it's so good.
I got to check that out.
Yeah, it's funny. I've never seen Mr. Robot, and I know people have told me to watch it and everything, so I will at some point. But I only know this actor from that short-lived sitcom on Fox called The War at Home that had Michael Rappaport in it. And he's also in one of the Twilight movies.
Oh,
wow.
So that's all I really know him from.
Well, yeah, he's apparently got good acting chops. He's going to play Freddie Mercury.
Yes.
In the biopic that is directed by
once was Singer.
Yeah, Singer left.
Yes. But yeah, I think he's got the stuff to pull it off, and I just want to see Edgar Wright piece this guy's life together, from Tesla to SpaceX and all these other things. So yeah.
He's one of my embarrassing celebrity encounters. I've met Mr. Malik.
Really?
I don't know if it's Rami or Rami.
Uh-huh.
And that's ridiculous because whatever it is, I called him the wrong one and he corrected me.
Oh. And you still don't know
and
which
I still don't know. Isn't that the worst?
Oh, that sucks.
I think it's Rami. I think it's Rami Malik. I think it's his name. But yeah.
It's now Dexter Fletcher is the other director. It's
Interesting.
On this now.
All
Called
right.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Well, I mean, I'm on board for this. I think they've been trying to do this for a while. I think Sacha Baron Cohen at one point was being thrown around for Freddie Mercury, but I can't wait to see it. I hope they do a good job with it because what a subject.
Interesting side note, Dexter Fletcher is a guy that I know mostly as an actor, and he was in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Oh.
He's one of the main crew in that.
Interesting.
There is an actor that looks exactly like Elon Musk, and again, I only used to research his name. Is he was on Lost? Kevin Durand. I don't know if you've seen him in anything else, but if you do a search for him, it's incredible. Looks like it's Elon Musk.
All right,
so
check that out.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for this week. We'd like to thank Aaron Dicer
Yay.
once again.
Hey, my pleasure.
Pimp yo shit, man.
Will do. If you like listening to this podcast, you probably have a way in your podcast player to search for other podcasts. Just hit that button and search for Sift Pop, SIFTPOP. That's our pop culture podcast. We do that weekly. It's mostly a movie podcast, but we do go into other areas of pop culture as well.
It's really good.
Oh, thank you, Barrett.
Yes.
I appreciate that, man. And then I'm also on YouTube as Your Movie Friend. You can either search for my name, Aaron Dicer, or Your Movie Friend on YouTube. And I do a couple reviews each week in a 5 things format. So just kind of, and I get to have a nice pun on each of those. It's my favorite part of doing my weekly videos.
Also
is
really
figuring out the
Yeah,
puns.
you're one of those guys that I think is really thoughtful when you come up with your reviews. And
thanks,
everything.
man.
And so, like, even if I were to disagree with you, I would have to agree with why you liked or disliked.
Oh,
something.
sure, yeah.
I enjoy that aspect of everything. Is when it sucks when somebody's down on a movie and you don't really know why. They're sitting there like listing things, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't get it, but I don't even see where you're coming from. But you, I can see that. Sorry, I had a cramp there.
No, I really appreciate that because my goal is to give you the information you need to interact with the movie however you want to interact with it. So like I have points that are positive that I think are positive that'll be green, and points I think are negative that'll be red. But I also have points that I think could go either way. Like something I like, I know others aren't going to like. So I'll put a yellow on that so we may disagree here kind of thing. So yeah, that's on YouTube. Aaron Dicer or Your Movie Friend is the easiest way to find that.
All right. Yeah, go get you some Aaron Dicer.
That's right.
Woot.
All right, that'll do it for this week. Keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. Keep going to SoundCloud, Cinemasins Twitter, Reddit. We got a lot of different ways to come in and sound off on this particular episode and many other episodes, in fact. And I'm the guy on the Facebook, so I go. This is the other day. Somebody was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "It's Chris. I man the FB," and he's like, "Just drop the V. It's FB." I was like,
Nice.
Gotcha.
Well done.
Very well done. But that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Barrett Scher and Aaron Dicer. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
But I can Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, California, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Montana, Missouri, Nebraska, Nevada. I'm sure I missed one in there somewhere.
You probably did.
New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming. Something like that.
Nice.
I'm sure I missed one or two.
Wow. All right.
How was that? Was that good?
You were actually really
humbling
when you were doing that, but it's fine. Humbling.
Yeah, there's a whole article on how to build your perfect Adobe Premiere War machine, essentially. And I was like, oh, okay, so what computer can I buy that's close to that?
Yeah.
And then we'll do the other stuff.
We'll do the other stuff.
Sweet.
Butt stuff.
And yeah, butt stuff. I'm totally down with that. Together. Together. What are we even talking about? What are we even talking about anymore? Jeremy's not here. Doesn't give a. I don't give a fuck. Day of the Dead. I've never seen Day of the Dead.
Yeah, Day of the Dead is. This was a while after Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, this wasn't this the one where they did the cameras and everything. They did the POVs and all that.
It may have been. I get
remember.
them after Dawn of the Dead, and even the Dawn of the Dead remake. Day and land and all that stuff. I just get.
Is it like the Before Sunset? Before
it really is. It really is.
It's dialogue driven.
Yeah.
I shouldn't give that away. One of them dies, right?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
I'm gonna cut that part out.
We're too dumb to spoil that movie.